and now I'm stronger. Ignite the fire once more, but I don't want you. Tracing city lights, make it right. I don't wanna press play. Ooh, days washing away. Facing nights in the morning, white lies are fading in. Waiting for a sign that takes me back to the beginning. No time for guilt or pleasure. You know I can't do that. I wish that I knew better, 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 better.
主动的一个先手出击，换掉了对方的一个幻影长矛手，目前打了一个1换3，在这高台位上的一个 PA 有点尴尬，4个人直接围殴他，没有办法。吹风落地过后还有变羊，黑鸟再跟输出，
后物一波有大，直接开找到，全部人贴脸，美杜莎血量瞬间见底，直接被秒。正当此刻，大红脸还在往前追，血接黑鸟再次击杀，地之后被残银吸住，血量瞬间见底，立马倒了。残银吸住，黑鸟给羊，这把有危险，买活死吗？买活死。
SK 咬大，接上一剑有机会，2个人全中了，今天杀对方谁？推了一下，布拉德还是死了。这波就找美杜莎，残一加上穿刺已经没蓝了，那感觉走不了了。
死猫过来打一个先手，这个位置美杜莎没蓝，这个被呼唤晕死了。
恭喜 RNG 拿下了这场胜利，也拿到了下赛季 S 组的名额。
对，超级跳刀过来一波突如其来的大招，先把小黑盾打出来，这里还空插了小黑，出来之后再被羊拉住小黑，连死2次，然后选择买活小强，这波是一个地保，看这波谜团大招拉住后面的一个小黑 SF 摇出大招，再找后面的一个剑圣，剑圣也被秒。
We tried to work this out before, but now I'm stronger. Ignite the fire once more, but I don't want you. Tracing city lights, make it right.
拉尔斯过来打先手，一毛扎住这边的一个毒龙 ，TP 变身过来打输出，冰魂的大招也跟过来，这波毒龙好像第一时间要先死，精灵的位置好像也被找到，精灵毒龙阵亡，精灵是选择买活，白牛赶紧冲过来，女王大招也甩过了，白牛大招小 TP 换血换出来了，
哇，隐身符
摇大招，1炮2炮，一下3炮，
非常完美。
追下来，九仙被先手好像要直接被秒掉了，羊这边没有开出大招，直接上了，这一炮伤害差点秒了 DP， 还有血球补了出来，但是 DP 是一个超级残血，能吸回来吗？吹风吹起自己，2个误触吸回来，漂亮的勾引，但是石灵剑士的残局滚 ，DP 能不能活下来？被撞晕了，但是又被弹上来高光。 emo 水人直接拨脸上打另一轮输出，还是把这个飞机给打死了。
两边好像要破雾，蓝走第一个直接破雾，
跳走漂亮。然后水人这个位置切入，直接打飞机，有精灵的加持，这里飞机还是活了过来。好像正面在硬刚，双方交出大招吼这边一个电魂，这个飞机一倒，正面战场应该是否了。 后面烂扬到了死亡先知，大招插起来，配合紫毛切入，死亡先知被残银吸，紫毛伤害全部打满，死亡先知又是被秒，买不活。然后这样的话，海明也是接连倒下，不王交第一条命，
应该被5个人围殴。
对，小白又是在外面只能看进不去。这样阿 Sir 也是打出了激进，我们恭喜 IG 战队击败了阿 Sir， 还是保住了自己中国区第1的这个位置。
Take me by the bay, bathe me in the gray. Tear away my skin, see me from within. Waterborne, I'm rain, thunder, ocean born. You can't drown me. You can't drown me. Heart close to the moon and the Neptune. Where scores my wisdom. Lay me by your side, sway me with your tide. We've got a tempest staring inside. Waterborne on the rain, thunder, ocean born. You can't drown me. Heart close to the
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2 of the Chinese Upper Division DPC. If it's your first time here, I don't blame you. You probably were hearing all the propaganda about European Dota being superior, but after the major, your eyes have been opened, and you're here in the most competitive region now, China. Welcome. But it's not just me here. I'm a newcomer, but I've got two seasoned veterans whose biceps are bigger than my legs, Lizard and Black, here to show me the ropes, because you guys saw it all. You guys saw, Lizard, you saw Season 1 of China. You saw that IG were top in the charts. You expected nothing less than them for them to win the major, right?
Yeah, I actually remember the power ranking that Knoxville gave all of us to fill up.
Right.
He can check on this. I'm not sure, but IG, Vici Gaming, PSG, LGD were really highly ranked.
I think they were like
for
3,
me.
4, 5 or something.
Yeah, because they looked just way too solid in the DPC league.
But
Just
did
way
anyone
too
expect them to be first? Probably everybody thought Secret, right? Maybe EG.
Secret for me was EG for me was a bit lower. I didn't know what to expect from EG because they're
Or
NA.
North America in general, sure.
I just had a full NA bias. I put them somewhere in the middle. when I had a spot open and I didn't know what to put there, it's EG. You know? But they surprised me just as much as IG.
And for Black, did you expect that 3 Chinese teams, especially the wildcard teams, these were teams that you guys saw in the tiebreaker for the wildcards, LGD, making it all the way to such a high placement? Was the depth of the scene in China as good as you were hoping for?
I mean, I really didn't expect them to do like that well. Definitely, like IG, as we said, like was a super good team. They showed their why. LGD as well. They fell short in the group stage, but they really powered through in the end. And I don't know. It just looks like China is the most competitive region for a reason. You know, like it is so close in that upper division. Even the lower division was pretty competitive too.
Speaking of lower division, that will be today's matchup, which it's just 2 promotions. It's RNG versus Sparking Arrow Gaming. So even though we are doing upper division coverage, it's 2 teams that were formerly lower division, now have been promoted up. But that's just the beginning of our long journey in Season 2.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? These 2 teams, you might think, okay, they're weak, they're coming from the lower division. But why was there RNG even in the lower division?
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but they had a really rough qualifier. And because of that qualifier, they weren't able to actually be in the Division 1, which they deserve to be in. LBZS and Magma, I don't think they're much stronger, or I wouldn't even say that they're stronger than Sparking Arrow Gaming or RNG. So we might see a DPC season that's a little bit closer all across the board.
Let's see what it looks like. We can take a look at what our Season 2 has in store for us. This is just the China region, so a couple of days off here and there. But this is what the upper division will be looking like April and May. 2 months of Tier 1 Chinese action.
Yeah. Especially in new patch, you know, like we'll have to see.
That's right.
Like China was always very strong once the patch is figured out, but for me they were always a little bit slower at figuring said patch out. So we'll have to see where they go and how fast they go there.
Yeah, the one exception I remember is they were one of the first regions to explore Earthshaker Shard right after in January, and so it was, they were breaking new ground. And we can take a look at the structure of what this whole Season 2 will bring. It's similar, same thing, same concept as Season 1. 2 divisions, upper division, lower division, 8 teams in both of them, and 6 weeks of round-robin BO3 play. There will be 2 of the lower teams in the upper division will swap out with the top 2 of the lower division, and so see some movement, which is why LBZS and Magma no longer here in the upper division, and SAG and RNG are up here.
It's just the standard league system that we've seen before in Dota, I believe, from JDL. It's very similar. If you're bottom 2, you drop out. Perhaps not truly fair if you're a team that has the ability to stay in the league if there are playoffs. But still, it's good to see some circulation, some new fresh blood.
And it's not
taking
that
on.
bad. You can go down to lower division. You still get money in both divisions. That's the beauty of the new DPC system. Both upper division and lower division get plenty of money.
Yeah.
$205,000. Main thing that people are looking for here in the upper division is definitely the DPC points. We saw how hotly contested that is to determine if you're going to make it to TI, since it's no open qualifiers for TI anymore.
Yeah, and every single team here has to be very careful because we've seen what happens in DPC Season 1 if you drop out early on. If you lose 1 or 2 series, suddenly you can't even make it to the majors. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I know after the major, a lot of people were disappointed to see like how many games people would have to play in wildcards and groups, and they would be like, "Oh, they played so much, and they don't really get any money. They don't really get any points." But the end game is to make it to TI.
That's truly the end game, and this is the season to do it. There's no open qualifier. This is it.
It's going to be so hard to, like, if you're in the lower division now, there's no way you can make it to the last major.
Yeah.
So being able to get to the TI, you know, the only chance is through the qualifiers at that point.
Yep.
Okay, never mind. Sorry, we were having something in our ear. Anyway,
Production just loves talking to us.
All right, we're good. We're
They're
good.
a bunch of jokesters.
During the major as well, it was always a lot of fun.
What was your experience at the major, Lizard? Did you have a good time in Singapore?
It was a very positive experience.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I liked major quite a lot. It was
Positive.
Oh, was it not positive for you, Black? I was thinking that I was going to meet you in person, and then it didn't really happen. What was all that about?
Yeah, you know, sometimes life just takes unexpected turns, you know. One day I was there, next day I wasn't. What can you do?
That's fine. You're here now. You're here casting Upper Division, and we're casting 2 teams, Sparking Arrow Gaming and RNG. It's going to be happening now. There's only one BO3 for today. As time progresses, we will be having Southeast Asian matches and Chinese matches here, but for right now, we're starting it off slow. And because a lot of the Chinese teams were at the major, it's going to take a while for them to quarantine because all this is being played on LAN in China.
Yeah, the first season as well was actually a LAN in China, and maybe that was slightly advantageous for IG because they had the experience. Yeah, they've been there, they've been playing in the booth, so not a lot of stress. Like some other teams might have experienced.
It's so different playing online, playing on LAN. Like we have even heard Puppy, you know, it's like online tournaments, sure, anything can happen really. Like nobody takes it as seriously, even though you have to take it really seriously. It's just something that happens in your mind, you know. Like you can't take online games as seriously as LANs. So
of course,
yeah, IG definitely had the best training grounds.
Yeah, and even we were mentioning, like, so there are a lot of these teams with these younger players who don't necessarily have as much experience. Same thing with these 2 teams that are coming up, SAG and RNG. There's like a mix between the senior staff and then like a couple of newcomers, which we will be taking a look eventually at one of the new mid laners on the scene, 7E, who is pretty young. He's like 20. And then there's like capital S Super, who he's been top 4 TI multiple times, and so there's this hybrid.
We have Flyby as well,
Flyby.
right, super on the other side. So all these names that we're very acquainted with. You have D-Stones as well in RNG. So
what do you think is a good ratio between new and old? I always say like 3-2.
3 new, 2 old.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
I think.
3 old, 2
I
new?
think 3 old, 2 new. Like if you have too many new people, I think there's too much chaos potentially, and like the voice communication.
So
stuff.
basically, what you're saying is you want the skilled newcomers to carry you. You want the mid lane and safe lane.
I mean,
to be
we lead them, right? We lead them, and they take our lead and carry us. So I think it's a give and take. It's very fair.
Okay, well,
Team
I
game.
mean, RNG kind of has that structure with capital S Super. They, I guess, have the right ratio. What was the ratio of IG? Well, they were.
So there's Kaka.
So
Emo is new. Flyfly is new.
Flyfly's new. Kaka's been around forever.
Kaka's been around forever.
JT
is somewhat new.
Yeah.
But he's pretty seasoned now
not
also.
Necessarily.
He has been around for like almost 2-3 years now.
And lowercase S Super has been a coach for a very, very long time. So they had a good ratio. But yeah, RNG, I know for me, I didn't get to watch too much lower division. And my main understanding of God King, their carry player, was he pioneered the popular build of going Saint and Yasha and then breaking it into Halberd and Manta.
On every hero.
On every hero, the
yeah.
God King build.
Even Rave King, like, he just didn't stop anywhere. Like he likes to innovate a lot. Like he was one of the first guys who really brought carry profit into the meta.
That's right, yeah.
Like he has a lot of good stuff going for him. Mechanically, he's very good, and he's not held back by like meta. You know, like he tries to create his own meta, which sometimes backfires.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes he tries a bit too much and creates his own meta that isn't necessary. Just go with the standard build. Go Midas Radiance Raid King. You don't have to do the same thing
on every hero.
On every single hero.
But he's the player that I'll be most excited about seeing in a new patch. You know, what's good, what isn't. But we can also take a look at Sparking Arrow Gaming, because they also have a lot of promise. Again, lower division team, didn't get too much information on them, but still a lot of promise. We got 70, the mid laner, Son Goku, Fly XCJ, or rather Flyby, and IDC. My favorite handle in all of Dota so far, IDC.
That's such a 2000 plus birth year nickname.
Zoomer nickname?
Zoomer nickname. So hard. Like, I don't care. That's my pub. And I hear some 16-year-old trash talking me with a nickname IDC. That's pretty standard in EU pubs. I'm not saying that this IDC.
What do you want?
same.
Rank 600? I don't care, but we're just saying IDC, bro.
Slash
I don't
roll.
IDC MMR.
I just slash roll. That's all I care. But we can take a look at the mid laners. D-Stones versus 70. D-Stones is actually an interesting story because last season he was on Sparking Arrow Gaming. He has somehow been poached or exported. I don't know, or kicked maybe. Who knows what the situation was. I need to do more research into that. But he's on RNG now after his Season 1 stint on Sparking Arrow Gaming, and 7E.
Yeah, as you can see, we do need some more data from
7E.
He's a new player.
He's not been around for long.
Yeah, as you can see, not really great kill participation, 0 tower damage as well. He could step it up a little bit.
Yeah. Literally anything is stepping it up. If he hits a tower once, he's already exceeding expectations.
Yeah, there's only upward to
Yeah, it
go
means you
from
can't
here.
fail. If there's no expectations, then what can you do?
As long as you're... Wait, what if he denies his own tower once? Does that count?
Oh, it's negative damage.
Negative damage. There is a way to go down.
We can take a look at their hero pools as well, though we don't really know how much of it is going to be applicable. It's a brand new patch, but a lot of these heroes did receive changes. Tidehunter, I think, may fall off a little bit. AA may be on the come up. Titan got, what, the stomp or the splitter delay was shortened now?
Yeah, the stomp, I believe, is a bit more mana or something like that. Overall, Elder Titan still works. He's not out, but AA seems pretty strong too. Like, talking of supports, AA looks like one of those heroes that can be picked more often, especially when you consider Huskar to be back in the meta.
Oh, yeah.
But that little red-faced animal controller on the right side, the Beast
Not
Master.
as many animals, though.
Not as many, but I had the pleasure of playing Versus and with one last night.
Okay.
Different playstyle.
Agonyms, and you literally take Roshan in 2 seconds. Not 20, but you take it alone from smoke. You don't even have to hit Rosh. It's kind of broken.
Yeah. But it's very different. Like, he used to just up the tempo of the team he's on so much with just pushing with the Necronomicons. Now he just offers a lot of damage rather than being able to up the tempo by so much, which I like a lot better because I always hated the concept of losing one team fight, suddenly your Rex is gone. Like, I always thought it was a pretty bad concept.
He still has the aura, though.
He does.
Yeah.
So he's not completely bad at creating tempo, but now he also adds a lot of damage on top. We just have to see how people play it. Maybe even the mid Beastmaster could work.
Just throw the axes at you. Yeah, sure. Why not? Looking forward to seeing what's new in this patch and what people will figure out.
A lot of people
experimenting. Yeah. Are you on a positive or negative so far in the new patch?
Yeah.
I am 8-4.
Yeah. I'm like...
Because I pick a lot of range carries who are...
You think
I would say pretty damn strong this patch.
Manta styling?
The new Manta style. Abyssal Blade, you can't jump on them anymore as easily. Diffuser Blade on PL got nerfed, which is a big problem for a lot of these heroes.
Yep.
So I would definitely say range carries are back on the table, on the plate.
No, I feel like out of my 16 games, I've lost maybe 3-4. Bounty Hunter spammer here. The hero looks just broken. That shard is just so
Support
strong.
or core?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I buy the same stuff.
Easy.
It's of course, if you're a support, you want to go more utility or whatnot. But if the hero is broken so much with a certain item style, well, differ from it. You can just be strong everywhere.
So then is that your go-to for hero on the come up? You think you're investing in Bounty Hunter?
I'm investing in Bounty Hunter stocks.
Okay.
They're rising.
I'm trying to think about heroes that were popular, I guess, towards the tail end of the major. Because I know, I think at the beginning people are going to stay in the comfort zone. I'm sure if IG was here, they're still going to be playing tons of Lion, which I think Lion also got like amazing buffs. So I would not be surprised if Kaka was thrilled.
I actually can't believe he got buffed. Like,
I know.
He was picked so much at the major. All right, let's buff him a little bit. Give him magic immunity.
Yeah, let's just give him big KB while he mana drains. Why the hell not?
And then Shaman got minor nerfs, which was probably necessary. It's mainly cores that got nerfed. Like Monkey King got some nerfs. Morphling got a lot of nerfs.
Ursa looks stronger than ever for me.
Perma and Rage.
Yeah, Perma and Rage, literally, with the shard. It's
it's pretty silly. There's a lot of silly stuff happening this patch. I'm really hoping we get to see some of it because
it's gonna get nerfed
it breeds
soon,
a lot of fun. Yeah, like you gotta use it while you can.
Yeah. I'm loving my pubs at least. Like the games are just constant brawling and just fun. They're just fun.
It's always like that in the new patch though, right? Everybody just fights. Oh, okay, we want to fight. Now we can do something, like get a tower or something.
But the map changes force you into doing that too, right? Because of the map is changed. No one
so
knows.
narrow at the towers
Everything
now.
is narrow, exactly.
Like you have so much space, and suddenly
It's so cramped.
Whoa.
Like one Tusk Ice Shard suddenly locks up an entire lane, which is so weird.
It's crazy. Like all AOE abilities got buffed passively by doing so. It's going to be a crazy meta. We'll have to see how teams really abuse it.
And then there was the quick Phantom patch earlier. I don't know if anyone has caught it, but like maybe 8 hours ago, Bottle now only gets 2 charges from Bounty and Water Runes.
Oh, really?
There was not a Phantom patch?
Another Phantom patch, Cake?
Another Phantom patch. It's not a B or an A patch.
Okay, can I
Please.
Can I have a monologue here for like?
Can we get Lizard a close up, please?
Not a long one, but please, Val, you've been so kind and good to us before with patches and telling us when they happen. Can we have that back? Like one day I'm winning versus Dawnbreaker. I feel like the hero is trash. Next day she's destroying me, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Just post that you're patching things. It's same things like before.
Yeah, I'm not messing with you. It was 2 charges of Bottle, which was probably necessary.
I didn't even know
for the
Water
Water
I had no idea.
Water Rune and Bounty Rune now only
both.
give 2 charges of
But
Bottle.
the Power Rune is still 3.
Power Rune's still 3, but that only comes afterwards.
Yeah.
So did either of you play any mid lane over your
A lot.
past? Okay.
Yeah, I played.
So did you buy Bottle literally every single time?
I mean, you even rush it, right? You want to have it before minute 2, just so you get all the region. You can never lose your lane. So it had to get toned down a little bit. It was quite silly.
Were your 4 positions still camping the Water Rune, or they were like, whatever, it's your problem
Yeah,
now?
they usually try to steal the enemy's Water Rune.
Okay.
And then you just take yours, and then it doesn't really matter though because he gets the Bounty Rune at minute 3 suddenly.
Yeah, so a worthy nerf, but it was surprising to me that it wasn't mentioned as a
I
B
didn't even
patch.
know. Like,
it
you just
happened.
told
It
me?
was 8 hours ago.
like I checked Reddit like pretty much all the time, but I guess not 8 hours ago.
I mean, I was reading it this morning, and I saw a guy complaining about too much region. And I read that, and I'm like, yeah, this guy is right. This makes sense. Why do we have so much region? Little do I know that it's already been nerfed. Like,
I mean, you literally got 12 bottle charges in like 3 minutes. It was so silly.
Although the trade-off was no shared tangos anymore, so I guess mid laners needed some compensation.
no, you know what? Coming from a Visage, Arc Warden, and whatever those heroes that don't buy bottle on the mid lane player are,
You hate this patch.
Just kill those runes. We don't need them. Make them drain your mana 50% of the time. Like,
I mean,
I'm for that.
Yeah, even me as an avid mid line spammer, the hero mid is like pretty dead now.
Yeah.
Because they just have infinite mana. It's like, what do I even mana drain you for?
Let's see what mids we can have in this game, though, because a draft is going to be live soon between Sparking Arrow Gaming and RNG. Any favorites at all? Probably not.
It's pretty hard to tell between the two. Like I haven't watched too much of either because I was doing mainly the upper division. So I'm open for some good surprises here.
Yeah, RNG probably in my expectations.
I mean, I like Super. I teamed with Super before, so I'm a little bit biased.
There you go.
Did you really?
Yeah.
On a
in
Vici?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The guy's a beast. Like he's very smart. He might not be like the most mechanically skilled guy, but he's really smart about the game. He knows where to move, when to move, and that's exactly what you need on a team when you have newcomers.
Yeah, and your language barrier wasn't an issue with Super?
At first it was, but my Chinese got to a level where it was pretty fluent, so I could easily discuss, replay, strategy meetings and stuff, because I've been learning Chinese for like almost 3 years at that time. So.
Do you miss it?
Hard work, man. I do miss it actually. Like, especially when you live in Asia. I live in Singapore now. There's so many Chinese-speaking people. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I miss my time in China.
You don't get to practice it as much either, and that's like one of the problems with secondary languages.
Yeah.
Is
You need practice.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I forgot. Like, I didn't really forget like the understanding. I still have all that, but the speaking is very difficult now because you have to hit certain tones, because otherwise you say a word you don't want to say.
Yeah.
It's an iffy ground to walk on. But if you're a foreigner, they'll give you a lot of leeway. So no problem.
German must be like a completely other language in that regard, where like tone doesn't matter at all.
It is,
I've had
like,
many people speak to me in German. I'm like, are you angry at me? Are you mad at me? And they're like, no, that's just the language, man.
It's really weird. Like, it's like German is here, and there's English, and then Chinese is like.
Yeah, he went in completely opposite direction. Like I had to study German in high school and elementary school.
Verdict, screw that, right?
Verdict, screw that language. It's so hard. Like
if I wasn't born in Germany, I would not have learned German. That's all I can say.
It's a really difficult language to.
It's
to
difficult,
learn, yeah.
and admittedly, there's not too many people that speak it. Yeah. So
for some reason,
save yourself
like
the effort.
in my country, everyone has to learn it. Like you have to learn German and English going through the school, because there was a lot of impact in the Balkans from Austro-Hungary and Germany and whatnot, all the politics, whatever the hell. So we had to suffer. We had to suffer your damn.
I gotta admit though, like I was forced to learn French in school, and I felt like that was the only language to me that felt even more useless than German.
Useless in what regard?
Like in the amount of people that speak it.
Okay.
Which probably isn't true, because there's like Quebec in Canada and stuff.
Yeah, but although I hear like Quebecois French is like quite different.
It's very different.
From traditional
like a different
French.
dialect, though.
Different dialect, different vocabulary, different like intonation and stuff like that.
Suddenly
You
different
probably
language.
have some African countries as well that speak
That's true,
French.
yeah.
So there's some use to it. Germans, not possibly as much.
Yeah, not as much. I mean, Switzerland, Austria.
But there's
Germany.
a lot of it in Europe that.
Yeah,
that you can
Europe
use.
speaks it quite a lot.
Even like when you look at Netherlands and Belgium and whatnot, they'll probably understand you if you speak German, or you can kind of have some conversation.
I'm
right?
probably biased though, a little bit against French, because I went to France, for my first LAN in like 2010, I believe, maybe 2009, maybe even, and they wouldn't serve me and my team a pizza because we didn't order in French. We couldn't speak French, so they're like, "We're gonna serve you."
Yeah, so you wanted a pizza party.
I mean, I just wanted a pizza, not necessarily a party. But
what was your hero pool in 2009 like? Was it still anti-mage?
Yeah, anti-mage. I mean, was that Dota 2? That was Dota 1
No,
still.
That was one,
Dota
right?
1.
That was Dota 1,
Dota
yeah.
1 was Dota 2 was 2011.
No, I played like a lot of SF Tinker. I was actually mainly a mid player at that time.
Really?
Yeah, and we got top 4.
Really?
Yeah, we lost to the team that ultimately won the tournament, which was DK, I think, or eHome Burning.
What
Also,
was
it was a Chinese team.
what was the tournament again?
ESWC.
ESWC, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
like Navi, I think, got second, and then was it eHome that won with Burning?
Not sure actually. I was still
yeah.
playing Warcraft at the time. That
Still
was
playing
my-
Warcraft.
Well,
Okay,
everyone was
okay.
playing Warcraft at the time, I
Yeah,
guess.
True.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean not Dota. The
Oh,
RTS,
okay,
the
okay.
RTS style.
Yeah.
I was.
And now we got a draft
Yeah, I've
on
got
the
Dota.
way.
I've got Dota for you. You want to talk Dota? I got Dota. We got RNG versus Sparking Arrow Gaming, BO3s, and
on the menu.
two. Oh wait, they also changed. Did they change Captain's Mode structure? Yes, they did.
They did.
Now
I didn't see
second,
what they.
second. Okay, so it used to be first, second. Whenever you start picking, and now it's first, second, first.
Oh, so it's 2 picks again.
2 picks
together?
back to back.
Oh, okay. So they reverted that, right? It was.
They did.
was
It
like
used
that
to be like
before.
that.
Yeah.
Which is quite a big change
It
in
is.
terms of how you approach the draft now.
Yeah, so Sparking Arrow gets their Phoenix first. Now RNG gets 2 heroes back to back.
Is the second phase still the same though? Or?
The second phase is still the same, and BAM phases are still the same as well.
Okay, so first pick gets the last pick in the first phase now.
Correct.
So right now, I believe that having that second pick might be a bit better for you, because there's just so many broken things. You can't ban all of them out. They're gonna get 1. You're gonna get 2.
Yeah,
If
so
you have a decent plan.
if I think about like how the major would have been, then you would have, if you were second pick, you would have been like, oh, I get DP Oracle back to back, and you can't take one of them out of my hands unless you first pick DP or Oracle. So if you wanted like a Puck or something.
DP Void Spirit.
DP Void Spirit.
Puck DP.
There's some strong combos there for sure, yeah.
And here's a strong teamfight combo from RNG. Snapfire Mars. Snapfire, famously a counter to Phoenix, kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Wasn't picked at the major at all.
Wasn't picked at the major. What's the deal, Black? Why is Snapfire suddenly good now?
I think he got buffed a little bit, right? He got +1 armor and something else got changed. I can't quite remember. There's way too many patch notes. But I know he got buffed. But I don't know why it was never picked at the major to counter the Phoenix.
Yeah, the Shard also got buffed, the stun on Scatterblast.
Like, I've seen that story so many times. You pick Snapfire into the Phoenix, he still plants his egg far enough from the team fight, or he plants the egg as you're using your ulti, and it isn't truly a real counter until you get the blink. Once you get the blink, then you can deal with the Phoenix, but it's just not as effective as it sounds, let's put it that way. Phoenix also got buffed. His Shard now gives you the Sunray talent.
Oh my god, yes, that's so broken.
It was the talent before, and now it gives you that...
And the egg, right?
Exactly, and you can get it much sooner.
And it slows.
You can get it so much sooner. Does it slow?
Yeah, it slows like 14%, both the Supernova Sunray and the normal Sunray.
Okay, so that's...
Phoenix definitely needed some buffs, of course.
Of course, yeah. Underpicked at the major.
Look, the problem with Phoenix is I don't think that the hero is that broken. It's just that the meta allowed him to be in the pool, right?
To
some
be
heroes
fair,
that are played around him, Mars is also pretty good.
Sunray damage got nerfed a little bit. By like 0.5%.
Yeah.
Which is pretty big, from 5.75 to 5.25. It's a noticeable change in damage.
I mean, you want to talk max HP changes. You think Lifestealer's on the come up now? You got Feast back.
Yeah, against some heroes for sure, but I'm pretty surprised we see Phantom Lancer first phase. Like, there's a lot of counters in the pool, and he doesn't strike me as particularly great against either Mars or Snapfire.
And there we go, Beastmaster.
Yeah, boy.
With those axes. He's going to destroy that PL once he gets that axe.
Yeah.
Does he have the mana to use it against a Diffusal Blade? Because Diffusal Blade got changes. I don't know if it's necessarily buffs or nerfs.
I feel like it's nerf for PL specifically.
For sure.
But much better for other heroes, because like, from 16 to 12 mana per hit, right?
Correct,
on illusions.
yeah. And, yeah.
I'm surprised they picked PL that early. Like, we'll see if it bites them in the butt, but...
Yeah, it wasn't even that contested in the major. It
last pick only, pretty much.
Pretty much last pick and very rarely picked. Only, I believe it was the IG versus PSG LGD probably the series where it was picked, but overall it wasn't that picked. But Lion was and will continue being drafted because the hero is getting just stronger and stronger.
I mean, instant disables are just so damn scary. Like, we have seen so many times where Shaman or Lion just blink, hex a carry, team fight done. Like, it's one of the scariest things to play against, really, because you can't react to it.
When Lion was 5, I hated playing it into a Beastmaster because you just get slowed. You're already squishy enough, and
Necros just kill you.
You can't deal with Beast in the lane. However, here you're playing versus a Beast, and you're probably a 4. So you won't be laning versus him later on. You're pretty solid. I like it. ET, however, interesting from RNG. This should be their 5 and 4, right? Or 4 and 5, I should say. Snapfire and ET. I don't like ET versus Phoenix that much in the lane too.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's just your damage gets negated by Fire Spirits. You can't hit anyone.
You hit maybe like once, and then the second hit you miss it because you can't swing your briefcase.
You just stand in the spot there trying to swing.
But yeah, I'm still very scared for the PL. I don't know if they dealt with it like super well.
Yeah, but wait, RNG, that should be your Beast mid then, right? That's it.
Or Mars mid.
Or Snapfire mid.
Or Snapfire mid.
Yeah.
Viper. Definitely, like these drafts are pretty wild already.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint where all these heroes are going. Okay, so Viper, I don't know, what's his goal here? Is he just to be a tanky frontliner? Because I guess SAG needed that. They needed someone to be able to endure the immense amount of team fight that RNG are bringing so far.
I don't really feel like it counters anything though. Sure, you can disable the bulwark, but Snapfire is pretty good against you. Like, if you're stuck in the arena, you're gonna die real fast. Like, it's I mean, Viper is a pretty decent hero, I think.
He's a decent laner, I guess. You'll lane versus Beast or Mars on mid lane. You should.
But doesn't
have
like
a
hard
good
counter
time.
anything, right?
Yeah, like why not pick like a Razor in that situation or something? Yeah. And I don't see the purpose of the break seems. Did Viper even get any changes?
He's a little bit stronger early on now. Like, a mana cost on his Q.
Oh yeah.
And as well as his Viper strike is changed. And he got like a little bit of different talents. He got like a health talent now.
Oh, and he's kind of a pusher now. If you get the Shard, your poison attack does the minus armor on buildings as well. It used to be a talent, and now it's built into the Shard.
So you can poison attack towers.
You can poison
with the
attack
shard?
towers with the shard, and
Oh
it
my
does
God.
minus armor, and it does the DOT from the poison as well.
Yeah, I mean,
and I guess it
How does
lowers
it-
magic resistance.
How does the tower get poisoned exactly?
I mean,
What's the lore behind
corrosion, right? Like you just throw some acid on it and it kind of burns
that?
away.
It does,
True.
does make sense, yeah. Makes sense.
So why do you need a shard for that?
It's not necessarily a venom, but yeah, because why does he need a shard? For his poison to be a little bit more potent.
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
Aghanim teaches them how to
He-
use it on structures.
Yeah, he becomes a chemistry teacher. He's like, I need to mix this.
Exactly. He finds a way.
Viper.
They ban out Monkey King, which is weird because I would have thought that Viper's pretty good against Monkey King, and ban
It
out
is.
Nature's Prophet.
Which is true. Nature's Prophet, however, does make sense. He's really strong versus Viper in the lane, strong versus Phoenix overall. Like decent ban, but peculiar that they ban out the Monkey King.
And then Doom and Axe banned out by RNG, so looking
The new
to
Doom,
find some
yeah.
offlaner for SAG. Bounty Hunter, right, Lizard? This is a great Bounty Hunter game, right?
Every game is a great bounty hunter game, man.
If they pick Bounty now, I'm just gonna say they're massively lacking in the teamfight department.
They probably won't.
Like they
Alright.
have absolutely nothing other than Phoenix like right now.
Give me an offlaner who teamfights then, Black.
Well,
There's a Centaur in the pool. No, there isn't. He's banned out.
yeah,
There's
there's a lot of offlaners are already banned.
There's
Mars is like the one that comes to
Underlord.
mind.
There you go.
Underlord, okay.
Underlord is decent, I guess, but doesn't really play too well into the Radiant lineup yet.
Doesn't really counter anything. If you're
Yeah.
RNG and you have Underlord, you're feeling good. But
Tidehunter, perhaps?
an option, definitely. Yeah, you do have options. Underlord, Black Set Tide is there. Axe banned out. Tide, there you go.
Oh, it's so cookie cutter. Like you're expecting something, but then you say,
Start things off easy, all right? We'll get into spice afterwards.
Juggernaut, okay. Didn't really get nerfed. And Gorking,
Feeder. Feeder.
he's a Juggernaut god.
Okay, so who you
It's the
got?
mid Beastmaster. Dude, I am going for RNG. I said mid
RNG?
Beastmaster. I
Okay.
liked it.
RNG, let's go. Beastmaster God King.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with mid Beastmaster, and I don't see any of the purpose of the Viper. It's going to be 7E, and so yeah, I'm going to go RNG as well. Give me 3 RNGs for this very first China
Get
Upper Division
cursed.
game, and give me MLP and John X Fire for my first cast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here for the first game of the Chinese DPC for the upper division between the side of RNG and SAG. And it is, of course, MLP Dota and John X5 joining you here tonight. John, welcome back to the Chinese region, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. It's great to be covering some of these games. Really spicy matchup, as the panel mentioned. RNG up against SAG. Both teams placing in the top 2 from the lower div, so we've already got a bit of a fight between these two to figure out who's the top dog coming out of that. I believe in the lower div in Season 1, SAG did come out slightly in top, and when these two teams faced off against each other last time, it was a 2-0 for SAG then. Of course, there's been a couple of roster shakeups, a very big meta shift, and very different drafts coming out. Like, as they pointed out, Beastmaster mid coming through here for God King. Not something we've seen at all, I think, from God King, considering we've covered some of his games from 2018, 2019. So this is something fresh and spicy from the patch, but as mentioned, with the Ags change for the Beastmaster, there's a lot of things you can kind of see coming out. We'll see if he does hit that Ags timing, if it's prioritized here for God King, and if he will kind of aim for that solo Roche with a smoke down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that the other day, and I thought this has to be one of the most ridiculous things I've seen in the new patch thus far. But the Wild Axes already are kind of broken with the Aghanim Scepter with no cooldown, but adding the bonus damage on top just makes it that much better, and I really can't wait to see what D-Stones intends to do with this Beastmaster this game, whether he will just go for the Aghanim's Rush and try to make that work. Apart from that, though, John, I might add, I'm very, very happy to see that Beastmaster actually has something to do other than pushing towers now. So it feels like the Necromonicon being available all the time meant that you only just went for the one build, but at least now you have some alternatives with this hero. Feels amazing.
Yeah, more options for aggression. Again, just focusing on those wild axes leads to more potential in fights in terms of damage output beyond just push. Of course, that does mean his push potential is just reliant on the boars, So you lose some of that impact on the objectives, but the meta has shifted towards this fight-oriented kind of meta anyway. We see a lot of aggression over those bounty runes early on. You're already seeing a bit of a clump up here from both sides as well, and should be pretty strong from both sides if they want to force the issue. They have really good control on both sides, really good damage at their level 1, so could be a pretty interesting skirmish if they do force the issue out here.
Yeah, it's another thing I love about this new patch is the fact that everyone's just going for a 5v5 in the mid lane before the game even starts. Gets me very, very excited indeed, and I do wonder whether either team is going to commit to this 5v5, but we'll find out very soon in just about 20 seconds. As they are positioning right now, SAG, by their tier 1 tower, I'd say the Viper is quite scary as well at that level 1 mark for these 5v5s. Still RNG moving forward, are going to throw out the Astral Spirit, and of course that's another very scary thing to deal with. The Super does bring out the briefcase, but it's not going to lead to much. Looks like it was a 3-for-1 trade on those bounties. So definitely a bit of a better start for RNG, but not all too bad for SAG.
Yeah, you don't lose out on too much. You do have to worry about just having that additional gold for your mid lane matchup there. So Beastmaster, Beastone should be able to save up for that initial bottle a bit faster. XCJ is trying to poke out Felix though, and it's just a bit of a back and forth with the sports there.
Yeah, I mean, after the Scatter Blast comes out, the Fire Spirit's obviously going to give XCJ a bit of an advantage here as they stick around in the mid lane. They're not giving up yet, but Felix Schauber, he wants to keep going. He has another Scatter Blast up, but he's not quite close enough to get the bonus damage, and XCJ, he'll just salve up and stick by the tier 1. Still, having a look down at the bot lane. Son Goku, there along with his line, of course, up against God King and Super. Do you feel like God King will struggle this lane, or should he be just fine on the jug?
It should be a lane that you hold steady. Like, it's still a Tidehunter you're up against. You do have some ways to play around it with your spin, but there's a long cooldown on that, so you're going to have to watch your spacing a bit, some pressure on your support to enable you to get that farm, so we'll see if they can kind of get that zoning out. Have to watch for the spikes on the Tide as well. You see early levels of Gush being prioritized sometimes. That can lead to some early aggression and some deep dives in if you're not careful.
Certainly, and of course the last lane we haven't really mentioned is the top lane where IDC going to be up against Fly. And you have both supports there as well. Felix Schauber and XCJ hanging out by the small camp. Now this lane seems quite interesting as well, right? Because you've, in fact, hold that thought, because mid lane. It's a very close call there for our Beastmaster. 7E getting very aggressive on the Viper. Almost taking out D-Stones, but not quite enough. Still, speaking of this lane, John, it does seem rather difficult for the Beastmaster considering you are up against the Viper. And nobody really beats Viper.
No one does, and you've got that range disadvantage in this matchup, so 7E can sit back, spam the poison attack, stack them up in D-Stones. And D-Stones, he has the access to play with, sure, but the uptime on the harassment of 7E, considering the buffs as well to those initial levels on the attack, on the poison attack, can make it hard for that melee sort of core to match up. And you already see that showing in the CS board a bit. 11-5 for a Viper, slightly behind here for a Beastmaster, and that's always a bit of good news there for SAG as you get that initial farm, you're slowing down the Beastmaster's initial timings, and you're trying to minimize the impact of that early bottle as well. Like you manage to secure your rune, you get a good time, and just, you know, lane dominate as you'd want to on the Viper.
That he is. So we just saw the water rune spawn up as well. 7E able to take the one at the top rune spot, and D-Stone's kind of just left in the dust now with an empty bottle. It's not going to feel very nice at all. It's very limited to what he can do. I mean, he's just so poor on the Beastmaster. He can't even get his boots up yet. No braces either. It looks like he might actually go to start jungling. In fact, he's going to stack up the small camp to try and catch up. XCJ's here now, however. They've been playing around with Felix Schauber. XCJ going to try and run, but a nice cookie setup. Felix gets the Scatter Blast off, and maybe XCJ may have just given D-Stones a very important gift. As he was struggling a lot, but that first blood gold going to help him catch up quite a lot.
And he was trying to grab that bounty at the 3-minute mark, and it's one of those things, again, with the map changes, with the bounty changes, there's so many objectives, or mini objectives to sort of contest, that you kind of have to throw your bodies out to support. A lot of talk whether or not it's worthwhile. They try to slow down D-Stones with that rotation, doesn't pay off, and D-Stones with that small kill, I mean, he's got a lot more control there. He gets topped up in his bottle as well, so he can hold that lane against the Viper a little bit more as the levels are stacking in there as well.
Things still going very well right here for God King. Son Goku unable to do too much up against the Jug. Meanwhile, to the right side, or rather left, Super going up against SRF. They're going to fight over the water rune, but D-Stones really wants it, and now they can maybe just turn right back around in this line. The briefcase obviously doing a lot of damage, and now the access to fly in. And Super should be able to at least get the kill, but no, he saves it for D-Stones. Very disciplined play there from Super to make sure D-Stones does get the kill. And again, John, that's his second kill of the game now. After such a terrible lane, D-Stones is really starting to catch up.
Yeah, and he's got really smooth movement on the map. Straight into a stack camp, he can clear out with one boar and his axis. So the flash farm potential there for the Beastmaster is pretty darn good. Again, emphasis on the axis means you get that initial farm in the jungle a lot faster. And this is something that SAG's not really controlling well. They don't have deep jungle wards. They can't contest that movement. You're getting a free lane for the Viper, sure, but he wants to bully that hero. If it's a free lane, it's not necessarily what you want with a hero there.
I certainly agree with you on that. Top lane, a bit of an engagement here onto Felix Schauber. Icarus Dive going to slow him down. Felix still trying to run. Nice God's Rebuke going to keep him alive, and now they're going to turn right back around onto the Phoenix, and Felix, he might just survive as they do get XCJ. And RNG, I mean, they've had the worst circumstances, but they're 3-0 right now in terms of kill score. And every single time that SAG want to try and capitalize, it just ends up working out the way of RNG anyway.
Yeah, they've got to be really careful about the damage output and control SAG has on RNG has on hand. They can punish you misstepping on the Phoenix. They can really start to build up on this Beastmaster with every rotation as well. You can see the clump up mid. They want to kind of bully out, get that tower fast because it's been freed up. They want to enable the Viper to walk around to different lanes once that mid-tier one's gone, so they just want to get more value from that, but the rotations just come in and D-Stones can clear out the wave with his axis, no problem.
Yeah, and on top of that, of course, you've got Super on the older Titan, who's going to make it basically impossible for you to get this push going with the Astral Spirit and Echo Stomp, and he'll just walk away now. But I might add, John, I do find it rather ironic that, you know, a Beastmaster of all things is being pushed in this patch. But it does feel kind of nice to see after all those lost pubs to these damn zoo heroes. Feels good to see them suffering a little bit.
You talk like you don't enjoy the Zoo Mate. I know you're a Lycan picker and an Enigma picker, so I don't know what you're crying about, Mike. You're the one being hurt by the lack of Necronomicon.
That is kind of true, John. I'm not much of a core player anymore, though, so I don't care anymore about the Necro book. They can take it away from me, it's fine. Still IDC top lane. I mean, in terms of farm, John, when you compare the junk, you can compare the PL, it's God King's just getting ahead. And that's never a good sign if you are SAG.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the PL versus Mars lane, right? Like, PL has ways of playing around the God's Rebuke and the Spear, but that requires investment in Doppelganger. And you see IDC did go for Phantom Rush instead, so he just wants to prioritize gap closing, clearing out the creeps, but that does mean that he's very vulnerable when Flyby wants to throw his combo out, and just the damage output and the tankiness of Amaris, especially when left alone, means that it's a hard lane for the PL to really just find any sort of farm there.
That it is. You can see it in his net worth, just trailing behind by about 500 gold. Not going to feel too nice. Even the junk, it still feels very powerful in the patch, at least for now. Any changes that were made just didn't really seem to affect the jug too much. As what have you spotted out, John? What are you laughing
D-Stones is
at?
queuing up the Ags. He's going for it. And he's not being stopped. Like, this is a free farm Beastmaster for the most part. He's not #1 in net worth, but he's still getting a lot more considering that he was laning against a Viper, and the gap between him and the Viper is just about 700. So yeah, he sacrifices lane. He's not losing it to the Viper. The Viper gets a free lane, but he's not bullying out the Beastmaster. So these conditions for RNG are quite favorable. And 3-0, less than 1k lead, still very close for SAG, but they've been all over the map, and that's starting to hurt them a bit as they're not being as efficient as RNG is kind of allowed to be here.
You just saw another bit of a failed rotation there from SAG down to the bot lane. Just not really working out for them, as the SRF stun was missed. Or rather 70 did make the rotation, but now he's going to go into the mid lane again on the Viper. It's very clever play from RNG, right? If you can't beat the Viper, just don't lane against it. And it kind of works out that way instead. This top lane, there might be a bit of a group up now as D-Stones has made the rotation up. Looks like he's actually just going to go into the triangle. Oh, maybe not. He'll turn around and let Felix stack it up instead. But I suppose for D-Stones, you are just trying to rush ads. So as long as you're farming, it's fine. As bot lane, Bot King, he'll just spin away. But that is a huge Ancient stack.
Oh yeah, and they can clear it really fast with a Tidehunter. You can see Son Goku trying to get that gold injection. He's rushing the blink here into the pipe, so he wants to have that durability against the magic damage RNG has, and they have a lot of magic damage. Even just an early pipe can sort of mitigate some of the impact of that early ags we're expecting from the beast. So it's a preemptive measure here from Son Goku. Not only that, but they're also reducing the spin damage of the Jug, the magic damage of the Mars, and the Snapfire. So it's a really good value rush here for Son Goku once he gets to pick that up. But the blink, of course, will enable him to join these fights. We haven't seen a Ravage yet from SAG. In fact, we haven't seen them really hit any sort of big team fights, and that's one thing with their lineup as well. They're going to want level 6 on Lion. They're going to want level 6 on their Phoenix. And that means you need to wait for these supports to catch up in EXP before looking for some of these pickoffs that you'd want in this lineup.
Regen Rune taken by SRF. Super going to be targeted now as the Earth Spike does come in, and Son Goku going to move in as well with the Viper Strike.
Kisses.
But there's your Omni Slash being committed with the Mortimer's Kisses, and God King, he'll be happy about that. He loses support ET, but he gets a mid-Viper for himself. You can't complain if you're God King.
And you can still transition to an objective really fast. They're still hunting though. Not quite satisfied, but it's going to be hard to lock in Phoenix. Still looking at that mid-tier 1. Not an objective SAG will want to give out, so they're going to have to force something here.
Son Goku, you have the Ravage, but he hasn't really got much mana for it. Does have the stick charges if he needs to pop it. Son Goku just trying to front line. Looks like RNG. They'll be happy with just forcing the rotations into that mid lane. It's all they really wanted. They understand they haven't got the greatest pushing lineup right now, so just getting that chip damage and forcing the pressure does feel quite nice for them. As SAG, they've smoked up now. They're going to try and maybe invade that Radiant Triangle and find D-Stones. They do it, however. Get to the high ground. D-Stone's in an unfortunate position, but he still has time to run. He's going to try. Sunray is there with the Icarus Dive, but it is not going to be enough.
Ooh, they find a stacks though. That's a lot of gold going away to SAG. Managed to intercept that massive stack, so they at least slow down the economy of D-Stones. And while they get all that movement off, they've bought a lot of space for their PL. So you can see our PL now number 2 net worth, just lagging behind slightly from Flyby's Mars. That's a lot of recovery considering his lane was a lot slower compared to our Jug. So SAG are actually getting a bit more from these map movements. Sure, they're not quite finding objectives. They lost their top tier 1. But your PL's getting to farm up, you're sort of stalling out the Beastmaster, and you can see our Beastmaster, D-Stones, is actually stuck at the bottom of all these cores. So despite that really good start avoiding the Viper, his flash farm, even in the jungle, just hasn't shaped up the way you'd want it to here.
Son Goku just continues to pump fake Ravage. God King won't fall for it. Mid lane, S7E.
Oh.
He's stunned up, Mortimer. It's a lot of damage out with the Astral Spirit. It's not going to be quite enough, but that's a fun little combination there with the Elder Titan. Having that aura with the Astral Spirit into the Mortimer's Kisses, removing so much of that magic resist, and it does hurt once it flies in.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's one thing SAG sort of lacks as well. They don't have a natural way to stop the kisses. So as long as your positioning's on point, which it has been for our Snapfire in a couple of engagements, you're going to get full duration kisses out. You have a lot of damage to fly through. There is going to be mitigating factors from SAG soon. Our Tidehunter is very close to the full pipe, so you will be able to at least drop some of that damage down and allow your team to live a lot longer. We'll just have to see if that will allow them to take some of these fights down the line. We talked about free farm coming out. God King is allowed to just stay on that Jug as mentioned, but he's only a part away from his battle leadership.
They got the arena down. 7E, he's been caught out. SRF, he's around, but the Omni Slash going to bounce over to the Lion. Now the spin. They should at least get SRF though. No, he'll spin TP away. The failed Omni Slash. They don't want to risk dying, but look at that mid lane. Immediate pressure there by RNG, and SAG, they are forced to rotate once again to respond to this. This is not what they want to be doing, but RNG is just forcing it every time. Of course, SAG know they can't really afford to lose that mid tier 1 tower, as it's just going to open up too much of the dire side.
Yeah, they're being really cautious, responding to that aggression for RNG. So both teams are keeping relatively good check on each other. You have to watch the fact that the Jug does have the Battle Fury up. Like the PL can still jump camp to camp with Phantom Rush quite nicely, but Battle Fury Jug just means these camps are cleared out fast. However, he is sapping away from D-Stone. So if you give the jungle now to your Juggernaut, your Beastmaster sort of taking the backseat. He is only one part away from Ags. So it's not too bad. Like, the timing's still lining up there for D-Stones, and we'll have to see what he intends to do there with that. Like, surely the Roche is going to be something they're all going to be eyeing, and SAG's kind of set for that. They're the ones pressuring that mid-tier 1 now.
They are. SAG doing a great job of it too. Son Goku just frontlining there for 7E and SRF.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
T1, very nice. SAG now can try and invade the Radiant side. Of course, they still haven't gotten the bot T1, but it won't matter. They'll go right into the triangle. However, here come the TPs, RNG. They want to try and fight this one out as they go in with the arena and the spear right onto the tide. But Son Goku, he's going to be all right, at least for now. The Hood of Defiance, but here comes God King with a nice cookie and a scooter set up. The Raw flies out as well. SRF, he's quite low on the line and he is set to die to the spin, or maybe not. The Ravage timing. Oh, that is a perfect Ravage from Son Goku. Flyby still going to get the spear off in time, so Son Goku is not quite out, or maybe he is. He gets the high ground now. D-Stones will continue chasing him up. Wild Axes are there, the Astral Spirit, Son Goku, he just keeps avoiding them. Onto the next high ground, into the triangle. They'll jump up, the Earth Spike is there. Son Goku will finally die. He will finally die in that tide, but it took such a long time. And all that time was time that the PL was farming. Now you have the Diffusal Blade up on IDC.
Yeah, this is going to allow RPL to join these fights if he wants to. He has the Yasha up as well. Still probably going to wait for the SNY to get that additional durability, that additional stat resist to stand in the front, have the HP to man up and force these fights. But you can see the difference just the Hood of Defiance makes in the fight. It's so hard to melt him. They threw pretty much all their big spells at him and still couldn't do it. Still, so pretty good push out. They take the tier 1 and they're lining up for IDC.
He just takes the stomp. He allows them to set up like that into the cookie and the scatter blast, and he just gets destroyed. I'm kind of shocked he just stood there and took the Astral Spirit.
Yeah, that was really confident coming up from
Goku now.
Arena.
Bot lane, Arena going to be there. They don't have too much stun, but Son Goku doesn't have any stun. He's gone. Into 7E and SRF now. Behind their tier 2s, they should remain safe. But you got so much if you are RNG and last second spin, just in case. Well, what is it, John? You found D-Stones again.
You see these ridiculous axes? Are you seeing how dumb this is? No cooldown. Look, toss out, it's back. Toss again. Just clear everything. He can do it. He's got the Ags. They're going to be eyeing Roche with the mid-tier 1, with the top tier 1 gone. A lot of space for RNG to get it as well. And, of course, getting topped up for a region always feels great when you have a 0 cooldown spell on hand. Just outstanding.
The best part is as well, John, he's got a Fairy's Trinket, so it amps the spell damage, plus he gets that lowered cooldown and the mana reduction. It's just ridiculous. IDC mid lane this time is going to topple away from the Astral Spirit.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
So RNG, I mean, with those kills that did occur in the last team fight, God King, he got back on top of the net worth board. He's about to finish his SNY up on the Jug. You start to get a little bit concerned about SAG again. Because right now they're only sitting 8-1. And it is a 5k net worth lead still there for RNG. But maybe this is the time to go, John. Son Goku, he's got the blink up now. SAG, I expect to smoke very soon. They also have SRF's blink on the line. Massive power spikes here for SAG, but it's a matter of whether they can make it work.
Yeah, and again, they've got to be cautious about that Roche. There's a smoke here as well from RNG. They're lined up near that Roche area, near that top jungle. They're going to be eyeing maybe a shove on that top tier 2 first and transition that to the Roshan. And again, you got to remember, with the Ags on Beastmaster, the panel pointed this out, but it just melts if you allow him to get that space out on the Roshan for quite some time.
That it does. And all it takes is a smoke, John, if you don't want to take any damage. As you can see, complete balance here for D-Stones. You see a very balanced ability right now, and here's the big smoke up though. SAG, they want to try and punish this. You want that Blink Ravage immediately. They haven't seen the Blink up yet on the Tide. SAG, not going to find the opportunity as RNG being very smart and backing off at the right time, sensing that something is awry. You know, all lanes are pushed out right now. I suppose just everyone missing off the map is scary enough for RNG, and perhaps they've just kind of calculated the timing of those blinks. And they're going to be fine. The smoke will lead to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, RNG is not under pressure to really do much. They were smoked up earlier, but they don't really lose much by not finding kills. The pressure is really on SAG. They want to use Ravage. They want to use that Blink Hex Finger combo they have on hand, and they need to start kind of slowing down what RNG has, because there's a 6k lead for RNG at 19 minutes in. They're flash farming jungle a lot better with Battle Fury on a Juggernaut than, say, the SNY and Diffusal on a Phantom Lancer. It just doesn't measure up the same way for the PL in playing this farm game, and you're always going to be a bit at a slight disadvantage when you allow this slower pace to come out for the heroes you have on RNG. So SAG, they need to find an angle somehow. They don't have the best offensive wards, and they only really have control over their triangle right now in terms of vision. So they're sort of blind to get that movement out, and it just makes it harder to approach the side of RNG. It makes it harder to find an angle for a good Ravage. It makes it hard to find the key heroes you want to just finger down instantly as well.
Here's the hard question though, John. Like, both these teams seem very satisfied just farming up and going into the later stages of the game. Do you favor the PL or do you favor the Junk?
It's down the line, I'd say it's a bit back and forth. Like the PL, again, can dodge out the Omni Slash quite nicely. You do get the Swift Slash for the Jug to kind of play around with that. We are talking like really late load. Like the PL needs a heart to be up to really be durable.
Top lane. Oh, he hexed the neutral camp instead. Still, they'll go after Flyby, but there's your spear out from Flyby, and again, they are going to be able to run away. They even found the top tier 2 tower. Just nothing working for SAG. And you can't blame SRF for that missed hex. The spin just came out way too quick from God King. And he just ended up hexing a neutral camp instead, which it's unfortunate, but they're trying. Trying their absolute best to just get this Junk dead. In fact, they're going to smoke up again here, SAG. They're still trying to get this Blink Ravage going.
It's just difficult. They need some offensive wards somewhere. All their wards are just on their side of the map, so they're going in blind every single time. And it just, again, makes it very hard to find those angles. They are looking bot, and they could try to go for D-Stones here. They know he was around that area. Could be a pretty potent pick-off if they do manage to find that angle, but he's already kind of protected and TPing home.
He's got a BOTs up, John, the Boots of Travel. He's basically Tinker now with these Wild Axes. No rearm necessary, just, you know, maybe a bit of a longer cooldown on the TP, but who cares about that? And now here comes the Roshan. He won't buy a smoke for this, but there's no need for a smoke for D-Stones because he's got Flyby to tank all the damage. This poor Roshan is just going to get annihilated. Just no chance as the damage amp keeps stacking for some reason. Mr. Ice Frog, if you're listening. He just taken my God King and now Son Goku. He doesn't want to commit the Ravage like this if he in fact, he has no mana for it. They'll go straight on the Viper. 7E, he is set to die and does go down. Flyby still surviving meanwhile. The Ravage in the backlines did nothing as God King will just find IDC. He's trying on the PL to be able to fight back and doing a great job of it, but Son Goku is not going to be able to do the same. SAG once again just can't find the opening.
No, they can't get the combo of Ravage Egg. Like, that's what you're looking for with this lineup. You need Ravage Egg to come out. You want control in tight spots. They were a bit too late to go into the Roche. They had an inkling that it was happening. Again, a lack of vision is hurting SAG massively here.
Here we go, IDC gonna topple away immediately away from that Astral Spirit. You've got to give big props to Super here on this ET. Just so effective at holding SAG back every single time. Just scouting out for his team. As they get the tier 2 mid tower very easily, it seems. In fact, they're just going to leave it. They are literally just going to leave it there on low HP. As there are TPs coming in, Son Goku Gonna move into Felix Schauber. But you've got no Ravage. He can't really stop anyone. So he's just chasing them down and just waving his hands menacingly, just hoping they'll get a bit upset, I guess. But apart from that, there's not really much going on here for this tie.
Yeah, I mean, SAG are in such a bad spot. I didn't even notice. It's 10-1 at 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Only one kill for SAG. Like, they've got a Lion with Finger. They've got Ravage Egg that just hasn't been able to come out. And props to RNG, they're just spacing themselves out brilliantly. They're working the map well. They're the ones with the offensive wards here. They're making it hard for SAG to find any opportunity to force a fight. And, you know, they're still holding on to their tier 2s, at least in mid and bot. Or although I say mid, it's just hang by tread. There's still some space for SAG to farm up. It's starting to feel like it's becoming the PL game. And God King just chops through the tier 2 tower anyway. So map is completely shrinking here for SAG, and with the Aegis up, they can look to high ground if they wanted to.
All right, onto SRF, the spear, it will not connect, but the cookie will also miss. Nice start, at least for SAG, but now the Raw's out, 7E, he's been caught. Oh boy. Head on to the tier 3 tower now. Son Goku moves in, but he didn't have Ravage yet. It was 3 seconds away, and he is set to die. He does have buyback, but I don't really think they want to commit it like this. Even if they do, they might kind of force themselves to GG out. So I don't think they can really win a team fight.
No.
They'll commit. Earthspike is there onto 3 heroes for God King. He's going to avoid everything with the spin timing again as Son Goku will move in, but his blink has been cancelled by the boar. They finally take it out, but it might just be too late. He's got the blink up now, but he doesn't have the vision. That one wild boar from D-Stones just making it so they can't counter-initiate, and now the buybacks are just wasted.
Yeah, it's just really clean from RNG, preventing any sort of counterplay here from SAG, and again, it's starting to become the PL story. IDC needs to just build up in the PL, try to make some space for himself, use that space to farm up. He's queuing up the heart, so you're reaching that point where perhaps your PL is going to be too tanky to burst down in Omni Slash and in the combinations you have in RNG. And that is pretty much a saving grace here for SAG. They still have really good high ground if they get Ravage Egg off, but we've just seen it time and time and again. RNG makes it near impossible to find the right time, to find the right angles, and I think for SAG's part, like, we have to see some more patience here, especially from our Tide. Like, every now and again, we've seen Son Goku toss out a Ravage before dying, or in a fight that SAG can't really clean up afterwards. He needs to just really be patient, wait for that perfect opportunity. Like, if he had a Ravage earlier in that high ground defense, they would have been able to clean up. There was a really good impale coming through from SRF, but again, the timings just didn't line up there for SAG.
Well, quite ironic that you call it impale, John. It is Earthspike, just so you're aware. There's a lot of casters using the word impale for Lion's Earthspike. Very, very lazy stuff. You should know very well, John. You're a Lion spammer. So
yeah, I slipped up
please
now.
do not ever say impale again.
Hey, I was getting it right last time, you know. I can't mouse over it right now, Mike. Give me a break.
SAG, they're going to smoke up. They've got the Blink Ravage. They see God King, but his reaction times have been pretty intense this game, as now the smoke is broken, but they do get the Hex out. Still Arena down, but the Ravage is there into the egg. Got burst down God King, and now they can take the team fight. Flyby, he's just going to try and TP out of there immediately, and does. And now the Stomp is going to hold them back. Still a great team fight, though. SAG, they lose the support Lion, but they get the carry Jug on the other side. And that's all they really wanted anyway.
Yeah, that's really great timing from SAG as well. The Aegis, I believe, just expired a few seconds before that, or right as that fight broke out. So they found a big kill in the Jug. They managed to get some space out. And you can see, again, there is power here for SAG if they land their combo. They just need to land that. And once they do have some semblance of control, they can get that first damage off and start to apply some damage out with their PL. Like, the heart is almost up here for IDC, so you're reaching that point where the PL is going to be too hard to burst down for the Jug. You know, a lot of pressure is on now and everyone else to get the control off, to isolate the real PL out from the illusions and try to deal with him that way. I think you're really going to have to see some lined up cookies here, and stomps out from Super, so there's pressure on the snap for Felix to manage to isolate the PL and get the follow-up going, clean up, but the game is starting to pull a bit later than you'd want here for RNG. The PL is still keeping up here with God King. Like you're seeing IDC still within 100 gold of a jug. So it's a really good point for SAG. They haven't lost racks despite losing a tier 3. So they still have some really decent shove potential in their lanes as well.
Reina is there, XCJ, the only one caught, and he is going to die. I think that there was an exclamation mark there on the Phoenix for some reason. Won't really matter too much, I guess. They did get the kill. No denies here. Now into the outpost. In the meantime, though, IDC has gotten the heart of Tarask up now, so he's a tanky boy. And it looks like he's going for the shards and Octarine build-up. Which, by the way, John, I know you and I always talk crap about this build. But I think it's viable now. I actually believe it's quite viable in the pro meta. And it's a really nice way of defending high ground, I've got to tell you. I played into this in a pub, and it was disgusting. You can't ever push. You just can't.
Yeah, I mean, it did just get buffed as well. Like, the shard damage was upped from 30% to 50%, so I think now it's in a pretty good spot. And as you mentioned, you can stall.
They've got Son Goku in that arena. He's got no way out either. He's just going to die. SAG don't really want a piece of RNG at the moment. RNG, they might just go back into that mid lane, knowing it's a dieback on the Tide. No, they're actually going to back out.
Could have been an opportunity with no buyback on Tide. Of course, that means no Ravage Egg combination for the next fight. So it could have simplified the process in taking racks, and they could still melt racks really fast. But they're just paying some respect to how much SAG has on hand. Like, you can see just how much work IDC's illusions do. Like, he tosses out the lance, and it bounces around, and suddenly your mana's cut by a quarter or so. And in a prolonged fight, you're just going to be always low on mana if you're not careful up against IDC. So they're respecting the PL's power. That does also mean that they're giving the PL space to finish this build-up. And again, once that Octarine's up, it could work in this game. Like, it's looking pretty good for IDC. He already has Heart. He didn't rush it. I think that's the key thing. IDC did not rush Octarine, and as a, again, 4th, 5th item pickup, it's not something I mind too much. It does make sense.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, John, with the shards, you get plus 50% damage on the illusion that spawns. Those illusions hit really hard after a while, especially going into this late game. I'm very curious to see whether the shards Aether Lens into Octarine is going to be able to pay off. For now, both teams just kind of avoiding each other, just sitting back and relaxing for a bit, getting some more farm in. Of course, God King does want the Aghanim Scepter himself before he gets any more involved in this game. But why not just go take a free Roshan, which is exactly what they intend to do, RNG. In SAG, they've grouped up, but they're not going to make it in time. There's just no way.
Yeah, it's just not quick enough. They still lack vision around the pit. It's still an issue of information here for SAG. They just can't react in a timely manner up against moves of RNG. They could maybe punish if RNG gets a bit too complacent here up in the front, but they're not going to be able to, again, apply pressure with the smoke, and they're just going to have to sit back, get IDC that farm up. I think at this point, you're really just waiting for the Octarine build-up on the PL. You have to worry about RNG getting more items up on themselves as well. You see the Shivas being built up here by our Beastmaster, and once that's up, it makes it a bit easier to isolate out the illusions without AoE damage. Of course, you mitigate the heals out, and of course, you test your BKBs.
Testing his BKB, making sure it works. Doesn't really need a BKB anyway, John. He can just throw axes without a BKB. I'm sure he'll be just fine. By the way, always nice to see he got a Psychic Headband, so more cast range on those axes. Plus he has a free 4-star for himself. Very nice. Not really a 4-star, but you get my point. Kind of works the same way.
Yeah, and I love this coming out from RNG. They're smoked up behind their jug. They're going to be circling around here.
Well, here we go. They're going to initiate straight off the bat with the Viper Strike onto Flyby, but he's going to be just fine. The Earth Spike, however, does land the God King with the finger, but it will not be enough. They will go straight onto Son Goku. There will be no Ravage to fly out this team fight, as God King now is going to try and find another target. They'll go onto 7E. They'll find the Viper. They are making it look very easy, John. D-Stones, he still has the Roar up. There was just no need to throw it out.
No, and Now they're going to be able to find this tier 2 as well, start sieging the high ground once more. Without the Viper and without the Tide, it's a lot simpler. So they still have the Aegis as well, they've got Cheese on hand, so many protections for their cores and taking these fights, and SAG just need to find
we found the
angle.
peel. IDC, it's been caught out, the stop is there in time, they're just going to hold him for a little bit into the Earth Splitter, but he will topple away. Instead, they got the egg from XCJ, and they get the peel. And there is a swift slash out. In fact, that was an Omni just onto SRF, and that's it. They call the GG. They've seen enough. And RNG, the panel did predict that they would take out this game 1. They took it out in a very decisive fashion. I mean, it didn't even feel close, John. But of course, with that, we are going to head back to that panel and see what they have to say after this game 1.
I think Juggernaut said it all right there. It was 20-2. Good God, that was a stop. We were all leaning RNG. I don't think we were leaning them that heavily, but damn it all if Beastmaster isn't just the be-all, end-all hero right now. As we come back after game number 1, Lizard and Black, all correct predictions.
Yep.
Mine was hinging on the fact that I thought that Viper was going to be kind of useless. I guess it also ended up that Phantom Lancer was kind of useless too.
Yeah, very disappointed by Juggernaut and the Elder Titan feeding, giving 2 kills.
Shameful.
Shameful.
Shameful display.
Shameful
exactly. Beastmaster in the mid lane did fairly well. Viper did stomp him, but he did get a kill on Phoenix, which kind of got him back into the game. He got that tag in him, and the hero looks kind of broken with the Axe, not gonna lie. Phantom Lancer, meanwhile, going for that Aetherlance Shard build. Interesting.
I mean, I gotta be honest here, like, no matter what item build you go, you second pick a Phantom Lancer against a lineup like this, they have 3-4 heroes that are really good against you. Chances are you're gonna be useless. Like, PL is one of those heroes, either you're hard countered, you're useless, or you're not countered at all and you stomp the game. You can't first to pick this hero.
Even with this shard, whatever, magic damage-oriented build?
Like, I mean, he kind of did it, but, I mean, Healing Ward just negated all that. They had a Crimson Guard.
Yeah.
All the illusions just got taken out immediately.
You're playing into Snapfire, into Mars, into Beastmaster, into Elder Titan. There's just so
into
much.
Juggernaut even.
Juggernaut Battle Fury.
There's just so much damage that goes and kills all your illusions instantly. So.
And even with Beastmaster losing the mid lane, Black, you were saying that you're not a fan of the Axe primary build. You would have much rather seen Boars against the Viper in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not max the Boars, but at least I get 1 or 2 levels into it just to secure a last hitting, because he got really stomped in lane, which I don't think needs to happen.
It's a Viper. You're melee.
Sure.
Versus
But if you have 2 Boars, then I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, the problem with Boars is you need level 3, right? Like if you don't have level 2 Boar, it's pretty useless. So.
Yeah. I mean, just overall, it's a pretty tough lane for Beast, right? But he didn't care. Still 5-0-10.
Look at these feeders. Jug and ET.
I'm looking at you, ET. Most importantly, shameful.
How'd you feel about ET? I mean, this hero was very, very popular last season. Didn't really get too many changes. Still seems like a high priority hero.
Looks solid. I have to actually see some more games because this was a natural stomp, and natural order was helpful, but it wasn't that significant. Let's put it that way. It's not like he was playing into a Morphling or something that he hard counters.
I actually quite like the combo with Beastmaster though. Like, you amplify the magic damage
Oh, it's true.
a lot.
Yeah, it's a rare situation because most people were very, very sad whenever natural order armor reduction was moved to the hero instead of the spirit. But now, with magic resistance being on the spirit,
Beastmaster, he owned those team fights. He just kept throwing. He has his mana regen talent now, which basically gives him infinite mana. It's. I think we're going to see a lot more of it.
Especially taking Roche as well. They got that second Roche, gave the shard to Snapfire, but the game was already over at that point. So then what, you're going to rearrange the bans? Because I think first phase bans, there was Grimstroke, there was Necro, there was Huskar. I don't remember who the 4th one was.
I don't. Yeah, but they second phase Beastmaster, correct?
That's true.
They
Maybe ban out the Beast and don't pick the PL if you're SAG.
Yeah, the early pick PL really screwed their draft. Like, you're already locked in. Like, the enemy already knows your game plan. So, it's, they countered it perfectly, and the game resulted in a stomp.
It looks like RNG has a little bit of a better grasp on the draft at the moment, at least on the meta. I mean, so maybe ban out that Beast, ban out some of these heroes that they like to play, and pick something different.
Maybe like the Mars. We have our MVP of the match. It will be Felix Chauba. Oh, it's Snapfire. JK. That's what I meant. He did well.
He did.
Solid. First pick, actually.
Yeah, against the Phoenix, of course. I mean, just overall, he had like a couple of really good rotations, kind of brought his Beastmaster back into the game. Well played by him. And I think another Malaysian player
Yes,
in the
that's
Chinese
correct.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the few imports.
Yeah, we don't have too many in the.
Yeah, but here and there, like I feel like almost every Chinese team has at least one now.
Yeah. You have what, Nothing to Say as well. There, JT is as well.
I mean, LGD during their dominant phase, right? They had
X-Nova.
X-Nova
like
that's
one.
in eHome right now. They had Ajit as well in eHome. They don't have him anymore. It's Siler being there, so we'll see a lot of Malaysian players as well in the Chinese region.
Did you get any information out of this game whatsoever on the new patch? Because I was watching and I was just like, this seems...
Beast looks strong.
Yeah, Beast looks... But he was strong last patch also. I feel like nothing changed. Sure, he doesn't have Necrobook anymore, but he's still like a damn good hero.
Beast good, Juggernaut still good, Elder Titan still good. Snapfire, I believe, was already good before. Now with the little buff, even
Maybe
better.
even a better pick, yeah.
Still, don't first to pick PL. Like, no point in doing that.
Well, get some time to revise their draft. We're going to jump to a quick break. And when we return, Game 2 of Sparking Arrow Gaming versus RNG. Welcome back to the Chinese Upper Division Season 2, where we have just wrapped up game number 1 of Sparking Arrow Gaming versus RNG, and it was not competitive in the slightest. But I guess it's a good sign. That means that even these 2 lower division promotions, there's a clear degree of separation in skill.
Well, I don't know if that's a good sign if you're a SAG fan. That's probably not a great sign.
Oh yeah,
so
the legions of SAG fans.
Exactly, legions upon legions. They need to write to SAG right now and tell them, you guys need to switch up the draft a little bit. You need to find something different. Ban out that Beastmaster, looks pretty solid. We want to see you stay in the league at least.
Why are you picking PL first 2 and then Viper that doesn't count anything, guys? What are you doing? I mean, really, the draft was kind of like a pop draft. You know, I want to play this. I want to play that.
Like IDC was like, Phantom
they
Lancer.
need to step it up by quite a bit. I mean, RNG is not a pushover, obviously. They have really good players, so yeah, if you want to win, you got to play your A game.
Okay, well, at least there's easy to diagnose issues, though. It's clearly draft things, and in the first few days of a patch, we kind of expect that. Kind of expect people to still be feeling things out. Probably learned an invaluable lesson about Phantom Lancer. Even if you go for the magic damage build, he's still Phantom Lancer at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, we've seen it, especially last season, like 1 or 2 losses early on because of some questionable things happening, you know. Suddenly you end up in the wildcard or you don't go at all.
It's dangerous.
Be careful, especially in China. Very unforgiving region.
You end up in the wild card, though. Maybe you could be LGD. Maybe you make it all the way deep in the major.
You could possibly.
Anything
you have to be as good as PSG LGD to make that happen. And why we were there in the wild card? Because they messed up a couple of very important series for them. You can't really. If you're RNG right now, I think you're looking at coming very strong out of Division 2 and proving yourself in Division 1. Yeah. You're aiming at least at the wild card.
However, also, this is the quote-unquote easiest test they have.
For sure.
Like, they will have to play the juggernauts later on. And they need to stomp the series if they want to have any chance of beating them.
Yeah, what are your expectations for the other teams that weren't at the major, like Elephant? You think Elephant with ROTK, is that the secret sauce that they needed to finally reach their potential? Because I look at the players, I'm like, these are all good players. Why are they not playing good Dota?
Huge upgrade. Like, we saw a really big problem with their playstyle as well as their drafting, so I think RTK is definitely going to help a lot there. So then we have to see how the players can make it work.
Yeah, and not only Elephant has suffered some changes. We have eHome too, with a new different carry that was proven to be a problem sometimes for them in the last season. So, you know, quite a few refreshing changes in the Chinese region.
Hopefully for the better.
For the better,
of course, we don't know.
We don't know yet.
Yeah,
we'll find out soon.
What's up with the Grimstroke ban? Like,
I know, right? First phase, first ban.
I mean, Grimstroke.
I'm trying to think about.
So leash range got increased. It was 650 to 700, I think.
Shard is different now.
Shard is different. The ink over was terrible.
Yeah.
But now it's hard dispel on Inkswell, which is 3 second delay.
Pretty good.
But it's really good.
And it heals you for all the damage that you deal.
Half of it, I think.
Ink cover was literally something that I would buy on Grimstroke after having everything that I need, you know, and you just buy the shot. I want to have this spell as well. Why shouldn't I have it?
It was damage, and if you were like a core Grimstroke, then like sure, yeah, more damage, but it was pretty dumb. But yeah, I guess I'm surprised that I'm not seeing more Legion Commander. Legion Commander is the other hero that I thought she gets magic immunity on press the attack with the shard now, which is crazy. And so all these like hard dispels and new magic immunity sources I thought would be high priority, and clearly Grimstroke is. But they don't ban out the Beastmaster. They're more afraid of Mars and Necro instead.
Yeah, and they start with the Phoenix again.
Yeah, but they get the Tiny this time around, which is pretty nice. You already have a way of covering the egg. And Tiny looks pretty solid with the stats build that I've seen, the right click.
Wait, as in like leveling stats?
Yeah, they got like 114 and just max stats, which I am not a big fan at all. Like, I feel like you're just missing 600 damage.
You're missing 600 damage, but you're getting like a different
140
approach.
Health.
Yeah, you're getting a different approach to the game in which you become
I'm sure it can
strong
work.
right clicker. Yeah.
Like,
so do you get the shard then? So you have the unlimited tree charges?
Yeah, you need that. Like, it's kind of like the carry Tiny thing back again.
Okay.
IO Tiny coming back into the meta.
It could
Where's
work.
IO at? IO got nerfs. The collision damage on the spirits is now significantly less. So farm's much slower.
Actually, it was played, I believe, by TNC as a carry again, and they won versus Neo.
I mean, it's nerfed a little bit, but I mean, just 25 is okay. You can't attack when you're stunned anymore, which should never have been a thing anyways. But like, you farm a little bit slower, but not super much.
And Dominator got buffed. It's feeding less gold now.
I think it's still a very good hero, and we're definitely going to see more of it in this DPC season.
OG got Anna back. We will see some IO.
Maybe even tonight.
Yep. Monkey King banned out together with Tide by RNG. And we have SAG banning out Jug and Lifestealer. What's going to be their last ban? They're banning out these heroes that are pretty nice versus the Egg, you can see.
Yeah.
The Jug and the Lifestealer built in BKB.
The new Troll is amazing with the shard.
There you go.
It gives your entire team, what, 80 attack speed, I think?
80 attack speed if you're in range, and 20% status resistance if you're in melee.
Are we just returning the old ideas from 2009
basically,
into
right?
shards?
and leveling stats again. We're going even
There you
further
go.
back.
Anti-mage,
like
burning
1/1 stats.
Yeah.
For a player that was fairly new to like competitive Dotes, eliminating stats from the game was such a relief because you have one less thing to kind
Worry
of
about.
think about.
I'm just scared about misclicking, to be honest. Like, imagine
I
when I skill you
tried to
ult.
level stats and it was hard to. How do you even do it?
I couldn't. Like, I held Alt to
pull up the tree.
To pull up the tree and keep it opened up, but I couldn't click on the stats because Alt was already configured for something else for me. So how you do it is you have a hotkey to open the talent tree, like U for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's U. And
that's what it was. Yeah, stats was for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you press the U button and it opens up
the
talent tree, and then you can pick it up. Centaur picked up that we talked about in the first game. It was actually banned out. So
he's buffed quite a bit as well. Means another mid Beastmaster. Snapfire Centaur is one of the strongest lanes in Dota.
Yeah.
He has so much burst damage potential. And if that's a tiny there, I'm a little bit worried for him.
A nice Timber Saw pick though. Pretty solid.
That's
3
juicy.
strength heroes on RNG.
Yeah. But of course, Beast, once it axes up, it's a lot of magic damage.
Those are some sweaty palms. I've had similar situations as well. When you were
was he wiping it on?
No,
something?
he was literally holding it with that.
That cap is pulled down real far. I can't see his face.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he does.
Poker face.
Exactly, it's poker face. He's drafting. He needs to be.
Oh, I like this Nyx assassin pick as well. Like, it deals very well with the
There are
timber.
some coaches that can look into your eyes and see the pick that you're going for.
Oh
so
my
he
God.
has to
the high level.
Exactly.
Just close your eyes.
Inverts the eye image projection.
And I just keep eye contact, both of them. They don't even draft anymore.
That's what Dota competitive anime would be like.
Oh my God, I love it.
You're going to
the
pick.
lightning bolts.
You activated my trap card.
I psychoanalyzed you.
It was never Phantom Lancer mid. It's position 4.
What's the trap card with the Nyx assassin? You said you liked it, but he doesn't have the break on Vendetta anymore.
He doesn't have to break, but I mean, Timber Saw still gets hard countered by Mana Burn, as well as by Carapace. Always has been.
And you saw the draft analysis. They have a ton of stuns on RNG.
For sure.
With the Centaur, with the
so
Nyx.
that's a 5 Nyx?
Yeah, it's a Mana Burn versus the Timber Saw. The Carapace is nice, like you guys said. And the Nyx versus Phoenix was always the counter, right? You can't use any of your spells without being stunned.
And it scares you off, too, from picking certain mid-heroes. Like, you don't want to pick a Quap or anything like that. Ursa, all right. Perma Enrage.
Yep, massively buffed.
Dude, he is so mad in the new patch. He just permanently screams. It's actually insane.
Every 6 seconds, Earth Shock.
Someone stole his cubs away. Something happened.
Cubs are orphans now.
Yeah.
And you old, and you jump again.
Also, now with second Roche giving Shard, having Ursa on your team is always a nice little thing to have in your pocket.
Yeah. Then you get a Spell Prism. Aghanim Sept.
I still feel like even though he's buffed, playing into Snapfire and Centaur, even for
the lane
Ursa,
is
the lane is tough still. Yeah. Like it's not like you will dominate it. It's going to be your position 5 Phoenix. The two of you, I'm not sure just how much you can do to a Centaur and Snapfire. It won't be easy.
This lane should be heavily favoring RNG, for sure.
But then again, they do have Timber. It should be kind of fine for them.
Maybe they want to kind of dodge the Centaur lane, put a Timber there. But it's even scary for Timber as well. Like, he can burst it down there pretty easily.
That's true. Versus Centaur, it was always a double-edged sword.
Well, what if it's mid Timber to go against this potentially mid Beastmaster?
It can work. Yeah. You don't have nearly enough damage to kill him by yourself. And you're going to pressure the Beast quite a bit.
I'm just thinking about this new Beast with magical damage, how much he does to Timber later on. If you stack up the axes, that could hurt him.
Yeah,
plus, you can cut all the trees. There is nowhere to chain.
It doesn't cut as many trees, though. That got nerfed. It was one of the, like, Macro Pyre doesn't cut as many trees. It still does, but the AoE is much smaller on that wild axes.
Yeah, definitely Greenpeace had a call with Valve here.
How'd you feel about the Macro Pyre change? I was sad. I used it against many a Monkey King.
It's just weird that some spells break trees, but like a Firestorm doesn't. And whatever.
The one for Doppelganger was a buff, though. I feel like a lot of Phantom Lancers are being able to like sneak around in trees where you should just clear out like everything in the AoE.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like they did all the changes because of the new areas in the map, obviously, but
there's just so many new areas, so many new juke spots and whatnot.
I know.
Dude, I was literally getting juked like from one tree because he could go like 4 different ways.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did you go? Like, I don't even know if it's like skill anymore. It's like, did you go here or here?
It's just a percentage chance. That's what makes heroes like Beastmaster so strong. You get the Hawk vision.
Yeah. I mean, vision in Dota is like even more important now because of all these narrow
And there's a
areas.
lot of new cliffs and places where you can put those wards that are pretty good. There's a lot of cliffs around the small camp on the safe lane as well that you can abuse.
Oh, yeah.
There are cliffs in the jungle as well. Some camps where you don't expect people to see you in your jungle, they see you because they have a ward on a cliff that wasn't there before.
Last pick, Nature's Prophet, the God King special.
Okay,
that's a carry Prophet against the Timber Saw.
Exactly. Are we worried about Son Goku just going
He could take over this game pretty hard.
Super Saiyan mode? Yeah.
How about the mid Tiny? Is it going to be this 1-1-4 stats build?
Nah, you need
you need a
Ursa,
playmaker.
you need damage.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think you can get away with this.
Which way are you going then? RNG or Sparking Arrow?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go RNG again.
Yeah, I'm going to
just
RNG.
from what I've seen in game 1.
Exactly, 22 scored, no matter the draft. It's still 22.
Yeah, I guess RNG for me as well. It's a more even draft though. I saw definite shortcomings with the Phantom Lancer early pick last time for Sparking Arrow. The Viper seemed kind of useless. Here, I see potential.
The draft makes a lot more sense overall.
Right. Timber Saw looks uncountered here. He looks pretty solid here.
If Son Goku has a good game, he can solo carry this game against all these heroes. Like they have no good hero against Timber Saw until Aghanim Scepter comes online. I guess they have Nyx Assassin, but
yeah, but his job, you just said it was just mana burn and carapace.
Yeah, like you can't really kill him. Like once he gets his like
just ignore him, mana burn him and ignore him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Timber without mana.
Yeah, can't do anything.
What were the changes to Timber Saw? Reactive armor got
nerfed quite a bit.
Yeah.
But he got base armor buffs, I think.
He got 1 base armor buff, but reactive armor got nerfed, and his chakram, scepter chakram got buffed, but I don't remember what changed.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, and flamethrower deals damage to buildings now.
Oh yeah, half I think.
Yeah,
right?
40%.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course it should.
Yeah.
I mean, liquid fire deals damage. Meteor hammer isn't really fire. There's another
kind of is.
Kind of is. Yeah. Well, whatever. We can find out what items they build as we go into game number 2 of Sparking Arrow Gaming versus RNG with MLP and John X Fire.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are officially here for Game 2 between RNG and SAG, and it is, of course, MLP and John X Fire once again. John, welcome back, sir. How you doing?
Doing great. You know, second game coming up here. RNG having a spectacular showing in that first game. Just having a really great time with all the kills on board. SAG coming out with a bit of a better draft. We're going to have to see if Son Goku can hit that point, as the panel mentioned, where he's just sort of uncontrollable, but everyone seems to think RNG's got this in the bag. I think the draft shakeup might be enough to give SAG a shot into Game 3. I'm going to maybe play a bit of devil's advocate. Still have to see if our Ursa as well will go for that itemization and just constantly getting the enrage off. And if we reach long enough to get something like the Spell Prism to help out with the uptime on that enrage, of course, that does mean the game will have to go slower, so SAG might want to force out a bit of a slower pace there to hit that insane point with her Ursa and with her Timb, but it should lead to some more opportunities here for SAG. Like, there's still some pressure to get XCJ on point with the eggs coming out. We didn't see the biggest impact last time around from the Phoenix. Let's see if they can kind of play around the timings they have on hand this time.
Yeah, naturally mid lane, of course, we're seeing both teams once again posturing very aggressively It will be a 2-for-2 though, as you did see IDC did sneak one on the Ursa. So he does manage to get away with +1 for SAG. It does even out the bounties. So you kind of talked about the shard build up on the Ursa, but I can almost guarantee he'll go for the shards at some point. So this shards is just completely broken, having 1.5 seconds of enrage every 6 seconds. Or rather 8 with the Earth Shock, but you know, assuming you get a Spell Prism later on or something like that, it can be a little bit silly.
Oh yeah, it's just hard to deal with, and you've got some pretty good lanes coming out for both sides here. We're looking at mid for a bit. You see D-Stones up against 7E. The Beastmaster making it showing once again. 7E on the Tiny should still be able to get some control, but I think this is much better for D-Stones. Compared to starting against the Viper, you're a melee hero up against a melee hero. The Wild Axe's damage will stack up on the Tiny down the line, and you just have to be cautious about your spacing a bit. There's burst opportunities for sure on our Tiny if you go for the traditional kind of avalanche toss build-up, but again, there's been words about just focusing on the tree grab as well, so we'll have to see what commitment we'll see from that Tiny on mid down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one thing the panel was talking about a hell of a lot was God King on this position 1 Prophet. It's something we've seen God King do this before, but against the Timber, it does seem kind of counterintuitive. Does this pick bring you a little bit of confidence, John? Do you like the carry NP? Do you think it's a bit weak?
I think it's got some openings here. Like, you look at the level damage right now. Level 1 right-click damage with a Blightstone. You can really apply a lot of pressure onto the Timbersaw. Level 1 reactive doesn't do much. So Son Goku's forced to play a bit more conservatively, get some more regen on. You can see God King sort of working this lane really well in his favor. 8-1 right now in terms of last hits. Again, sort of repeating what happened in Game 1. IDC up top is just half of that last hits. And as long as you maintain that sort of pacing in the lanes, you're always going to be happy on RNG side.
Yeah, look at this. XCJ and Felix Schauber just can't get enough of each other, but it looks like XCJ may have been on the losing end of that trade, but he does manage to Icarus dive and salve up. These two just can't get enough of each other, apparently. Exact same heroes as well. Still seems like the Snapfire is more than happy to just fight like that if necessary. We'll also say, John, that I do like the fact that IDC is farming better this time on the Ursa. Of course, last game around we did see him struggle a little bit early on, but actually mid lane. Bit of a toss up there onto D-Stones. He's actually in a man fight for a bit. 7E doesn't really want a bar of this. Those axes, they are starting to get very painful indeed.
Yeah, it's just not something you necessarily want to deal with. Like, sure, Tiny's got burst with Avalanche Toss, but if you don't kill him, and he stays around, spams his own axis out, doesn't lead to a good time. You see one difference here as well. XCJ's rotation for the Bounty Rune pays off without him dying. So you don't have the supports of RNG being as active. They're sort of more focused in on their own side lanes, which means that, well, D-Stones is going to be down 1 bottle refill at the 3-minute mark at the very least here.
That he is. See how 7E plays on this Tiny this game. I mean, it's last game on the Viper, it didn't feel that impactful, especially after the laning stage, but hopefully this game we can see a little bit more out of 7E. We are going to have a bit of a quiet period early on, of course, but you are seeing a very similar thing happening. D-Stone's just moving back into the jungle, flash farming that up, moving back into the mid lane this time rather than just kind of avoiding the mid lane altogether. Well, runes are about to spawn up, 7E. Make the rotation down towards the bot side where Super is in a spot of danger. SRF did lock him down with the glimpse for a second, but it is enough damage. The pass to the right click out from SRF, it does prove to be enough. And they do secure first blood this game around.
Yeah, that's really good news coming out for SAG. They want to be the aggressors this time around, especially when you've got the Tiny core. You can see the tips coming out here from IDC as well. On to Flyby. He's having a better time on the Ursa. Like, it's still not amazing, mind you. 18-0 on the Ursa. You're lagging behind the NP by a substantial bit. You're still getting farm here on Flyby. And again, you're seeing IDC left alone. So you get the rotation out in XCJ. You're leaving your Ursa vulnerable. There could be a kill opportunity if you're not careful there.
God King really playing on the edge there. TPing out at the last second, making sure he gets every CS he can get. Of course, top lane, they are starting to pressure quite aggressively. Cookie is out Onto XCJ, he has no Icarus dive either, so this should be a guaranteed kill. Scatterblast does land with the Impale out from Super. Flyby will happily take the kill for himself. Very unfortunate stuff there for XCJ, and of course now IDC is not going to have a very good time either, because they're just going to run him down past the tier 1 tower. With this tanky Centaur, you can't really get away with him surely. IDC, he has TPs coming in from his teammates, but now RNG just want to try and back off after forcing these rotations. Flyby, he's in a spot of danger. Very awkward scenario here for the Centaur. Super moving back in. The Scatterblast does land into the double impale. And Flyby, he is still running out of there. He does have a TP, but he's trying to find the right spot. This SRF has been patiently waiting, but little does he know, there was actually no stun on SAG to cancel off the TP, so he could have TP'd out immediately. Still, I guess you would assume Glimpse was up on a level 3 disruptor, so he held out on it.
Yeah, it's a great rotation out for SAG. That does free up some time for RNG to secure those first power runes coming out. So D-Stone's grabbed the Invis. He's one step up on region. He's #1 in that word right now, but you're not lagging too far behind the Tiny. So you're still getting that impact out here for 7E. He's still getting that initial farm and levels. They have sort of allowed God King to free farm the bot lane, but again, you're not seeing a significant lead from any of these cores yet. Sun Goku's still holding the lane well. Level 6 on your Timbersaw at this point means that you just can be left alone and do just fine here.
God King out of the bot lane again. Top side, IDC, he was trying to go onto Felix Xiaoba. Did not really work out in his favor. Well, that bot lane, it is being pushed in a little bit with the siege creep, but Super, he'll try and defend this by himself. Could be a little bit challenging though up against the Timbersaw, so they might just decide to allow that tier 1 to go down, or maybe not. There are TPs coming in now. We see the B-Smarts, the D-Stones, he's there. Son Goku is going to try and run, but of course the Roar is going to fly out. Super will have the follow-up stun, but do they have the follow-up damage? Son Goku is trying to chain away, but is not going to be able to get out. It's a very nice kill there, down to the bot lane, but now Flyby is in danger topside. He doesn't have Stampede, but he does have a cookie. Unfortunately though, he got tossed up and does die, and now Felix, well, he's going to be just fine. He was unable to help out the Centaur.
Yeah, you're seeing some good aggression here from SAG, though. They're winning out just a bit more. They're getting a few more kills on hand. They get the kills under Ursa as well, and 7E's around to soak some of that. So it's a bit more impactful for these cores to find that initial EXP injection, initial gold injection from these pickoffs, and that should lead to a bit of a better time for SAG to get their build up. There's still some key items for RNG to save up for, but they're just keeping that aggression up top.
It's going to be very careful. That Sunray damage does start to stack up quite a bit, even at level 1. It's going to be just fine for now.
It's not quite enough damage.
What's God King building up into? He's got that Blitz Knuckles queued up on the Nature's Prophet.
Could be maybe a Witchblade down the line here, trying to build that up, or just trying to get that initial right-click damage off. Probably a Witchblade here.
Yeah, it probably is a Witchblade, actually.
Yeah, it did get buffed up. You like crying about that poison attack being True Strike now. There's no real benefit to it here. Like, no one really has evasion. I guess maybe if someone goes for a Halberd down the line, but it's always good. It's good stats for an NP. Allows you to be aggressive early on. It looks like RNG just wants to hit that point where you get the Witchblade up, you get the Ags up in your Beastmaster, and just run around and force some issues here.
7E, move in onto Felix Xiaoba with the Avalanche toss. Not going to be quite enough damage. In fact, they might have some turn potential. So 7E is going to have to be backing off immediately. It's always a bit of a demoralizing sign when you can't Avalanche toss the supports and just kill them. 7E, you'll have to just move back in and get some more farm up and keep working towards that Blink Dagger. Again, very frustrating stuff for the Tiny, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think he minds too much not finding those pickoffs. It keeps the rest of the heroes of RNG in check, so they know where the movements of these other supports are. They're buying space out from Ursa to just free farm that jungle, and in this case, because it's an Ursa, going into the Battle Fury means that You're going to have flash farm potential. You're going to be able to overtake the Nature's Prophet if it's not careful, because, well, the NP can be all over the map. It doesn't clear as well as Battlefield.
Here we go again.
So you have to watch that.
Mid lane, SRF going to be targeted. In fact, they found another in the backside. They've got IDC. He's going to try and Earthshock out of there with the Enrage, and he does get selfed up by XCJ. 7E, he's around on the Tiny. This is very clever from RNG, and they did this in game 1. They forced the top tier 1 tower. The Timbersaw TP's up to defend that top tier 1, and then they go immediately into the mid lane and start forcing the tier 1 mid instead. But without the Timber around, you can't really defend this. And eventually, of course, Son Goku, does make his way over. But look at the damage that's been dealt.
Yeah, it's down way low. The next shove in from RNG should lead to that tower being taken out. You can see SAG trying to take this opportunity to clump up as well. Son Goku can just soak through that damage. He's got the Hood of Defiance up. With the Soul Rings, he's got a lot of HP regen on hand, and the magic damage isn't going to hurt as much. But their push potential just isn't as fast. Like, sure, Timbersaw can tank and maybe clear out the wave, but you don't naturally shove in the same way an NP, a Beastmaster, even a Centaur does, and the top tier 1 now is going to fall.
It's really perfect play from RNG. As long as God can get himself out, but it's going to be hard now. 70's chasing him down, and Son Goku is going to be able to find him. That flyby, he's not safe either. SAG really wants to punish quite hard for this. Enrage up, but while they're doing this, their mid-tier 1's being pushed in again. So they do get 2 kills, but they're going to lose that mid-tier 1 tower. I don't know if you call this a win. In all honesty, John, you're losing so much map control here for SAG. While you found 2 core pickups, they almost lose SRF there. In fact, they might still super. He won't be able to close the gap. But I don't think SAG should be too happy about this. Losing that mid-tier 1 and top tier 1 is going to make it much harder for IDC to find the farm on his side of the map.
You don't have any offensive wards yet from RNG, but Super's already just walking around with a Vendetta, keeping track on the Ursa. They can opt to play aggressive from this point, get some aggressive wards once more, start to secure the Roche for the timing with your Beastmaster. I believe Beaststones is only 1 part away from the Ag, so you're starting to hit some timings here for RNG to be online. And SAG, you know, they're still looking good 3-5. They do not have the net worth lead. Most of their gold's really kind of stuck on their Timbersaw right now, which is, you know, it's nice, but you really want your Ursa to get a little bit more, and he is blocking right now out of all the course. Not a big difference, but you still need some space out for IDC, and he's going into the Battle Fury, and after that, you have to wait. He's going for BKB next. Maybe once you hit the 20-minute mark, again, the shards come in, and then that's a different story for the hero, but that is some time you have to wait for here on SAG's end.
Off lane. Son Goku does get stunned mid-chain, and with the roar out, he should have no way out of this. Cookie is there to follow up, and he's a tanky boy, but it just won't matter. Tips coming up from Flyby now, and they kind of want to return the favor towards SAG as IDC. He's been very aggressive with the tips, on the Ursa at least, and it looks like RNG are ready to kind of give it back to them. Shout out to Emo, by the way. I'm sure he's the one that actually started all this in the first place, but I love to see it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, you see SRF with a question mark, right, as his current username. Definitely taking some inspiration there. There's a smoke out from RNG. Could be a really good wraparound. There's no mid-tier 1 to cut them off.
XCJ gonna get caught immediately. He does have the Icarus dive, and he's gonna be able to make it out. XCJ now thinking about turning right back around. Do go with the chains in and the glimpse out onto Flyby. He does stampede, but he's trapped up in the kinetic field, and he is gonna die. Nice pick up there from SAGs. They look for more. Felix Shalba be scouted out by Son Goku, but he's gonna have enough. Super's still around. They will avalanche toss, but Felix is still alive, still surviving. In fact, SRF, he's the one caught out. He's gonna die in the Disruptor, and now the TPs are gonna start coming in. Son Goku, again, he's really not that tanky at the moment, and he's gonna die. XCJ, well, you've got an Aghanim Scepter up on D-Stones, John. No cooldown on the axes means he can keep throwing them out. And while they got Felix Shalba, it's not really worth their time, SAG. They lose too much.
No, I mean, they do feel pressure to be aggressive with his timing.
My goodness.
Not enough.
He dropped an item there, D-Stones. That was a very close call. I believe it was the Axe he dropped as well, John, because he was trying to Soul Ring. So had that Avalanche Toss killed him off, that would have been the Aghanim Scepter gone. Very close call.
Yeah, and you can see here for the side of SAG, they get these good fights off, but they're really tied into cooldowns. So they have to have Egg, they have to have Static Storm up, and when you expend those spells, RNG can just go for the turnaround, go for the cleanup, and they've got really good burst damage. They don't have cooldowns to wait for. I mean, Ags on Beastmaster is 0, so they can just maintain that presence, and there's just not enough yet in SAG to play outside of these spells, so they need to think about how to approach the fights after their team fight spells come out. They need to really think about diving further, because once the Egg's gone, once the Static Storm's gone, a lot of your damage and control kind of disappears, even with a Tiny on hand.
Oh, this could be bad again for SAG. They're going to try with the Kinetic Field and Static Storm right onto Super. They'll get the Nyx Assassin, but now the Roar comes out. They've caught 7E, and they kill off the Tiny. Here comes the Stampede, Flyby, a great stun initiation, does get the Phoenix. Looks like Son Goku is going to try and fight back now with the IDC, but can they get it done? D-Stones is very low and does eventually die. They get a glimpse back onto Flyby, into the Cookie though. Flyby still alive, in fact a follow-up stun now, just holding them down. He will try into SRF. And SAG this time will be able to make it work. Now they can go into that mid-tier 1 tower, and of course IDC, he really doesn't care, John. He'll tip you all game if he needs to.
Yeah, and that's a really good, timely movement out from IDC. He just shows up, he knows he's strong, he knows he can rip through the side of RNG if you're not careful.
They haven't got that mid-tier 1 yet. Here comes God King onto Son Goku. He has the Mana Chain out. Should be just fine, as they don't have the damage up with the burst him down. It's kind of another thing the panel talked about, is the profit into Timber. It doesn't feel that amazing as the mid lane now. They go back at 7E, a nice toss back onto Felix Shalba, but he's going to cookie back the other way. He is still alive, but should go down. But now 7E is going to be in danger. Icarus dive out into the egg and the front line there from Son Goku. Another stun from Flyby to hold him down with God King. He's going to be able to avoid the egg stun. Felix Shalba now, unfit the Sunray. Did fight back for this team fight. But SAG, they're fine. They're going to back right out and make it so that that buyback means nothing.
Yeah, and they're starting to play a lot better as a team now at SAG. They know when to push forward, they know when to pull back. RNG is the one bit scattered. I mean, sure, you have the Ags on D-Stones, that's great. Very vulnerable in the front once he's held down. He needs maybe a BKB this game just to be able to use his spells and not get controlled up. You're also seeing some issues now holding the Timber Saw, as you mentioned. I mean, you just don't have enough control to lock into Tim just yet.
Well, they jump in, Flyby. He's got the stun off on the Ursa into the Stampede. That's a very nice pick off. IDC can't really farm in that area anymore, and Flyby lets him know about it. Gives him the tip immediately. He was just farming the wrong side of the map, and of course, straight into Roshan now. D-Stones, he will throw out some axes.
Oh my god.
An axe for you, an axe for you. He gets stunned up for a second. That's probably the longest cooldown he's had all game. Get the Aegis now. SAG, they're still yet to get the mid-tier 1. So RNG now with the Aegis can hold for another 5 minutes.
And they're just so disciplined. They know when to jump in. They knew that the backup from the sports wouldn't have been enough without the egg and only Static Storm. Like, you're lacking pieces of the combination. They're playing with the aggressive wards they have in that top jungle, just getting enough information to get the rotations out. And SAG, I mean, they're still not too far behind. It's 10-11 this time, so much more kills coming out for SAG, especially compared to Game 1. 1K lead for RNG isn't unplayable. There's a lot of catch-up potential. We still got an Ursa who can flash form very fast with Battle Fury and with a blink up as well. So there's much more IDC can do in this game. He just needs to hit those points with his farm. Like, he's saving up for the BKB, going into his Ags, gonna try to build up, hopefully seeing that Ag chart as well down the line somewhere in the middle of that build. They're still trying to apply pressure in that mid-tier 1, but their push is Timbersaw standing in front. It's just not very quick. They should be able to find it this time, but it's almost 20 minutes in. That's a lot of value already for RNG despite losing it.
Yeah, interesting decision though from RNG to let it go down. Looks like they were just kind of done with it altogether. They just ended up kind of spending that time farming instead. Group up again to the Dire jungle here. Son Goku gonna lead the charge. IDC really wants the farm, but this is a very dangerous position. They're going to move in now onto XCJ instead with the stun out. They do get the kill. SAG has been very predominantly just kind of hanging around this Dire jungle, not opting to take the Radiant side.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen from them in Game 1. They're just always on the opposite side of the map, being the aggressors. They're not satisfied with just sitting back with all their heroes. SAG's in that spot where they're stuck on their own side of the map. And you're seeing another discrepancy here in terms of vision. You can see aggressive wards from RNG now in the triangle, keeping track of that movement in that area, knowing where the Ursa is farming, and where the rest of the supports are hanging out. And there's just no aggressive wards from SAG. Now, they're not under as much pressure to maximize their teamfight spells. Like, you're not necessarily looking to always use Static Storm and Egg in this case, but it's still sort of detrimental allowing RNG to play this fast.
Trying to chase down Super on the Nyx Assassin. He's going to be just fine. And look at this immediately. Up toward that top tier 2 tower. Start pushing it down. You know they can't rotate to defend. In fact, never mind they can. Son Goku will be there to defend. But you're just never happy with this, are you? Just being around this area. At least they do get Felix Schaubert down to the bot side. So IDC, he does get a kill on the Ursa. Now D-Stones, threatening to throw the roar out. Doesn't quite find the range for it. You know, IDC is making me very happy with all these voice lines, John. I do love a bit of banter.
Yeah, I mean, it's lining up with his name right now. He doesn't care. Like, last time he had, what, 0 kill participation on the PL? 0-2-0? And that just really showed. He didn't care. He just wanted to farm. This time, he doesn't care if his teammates die. He knows he's on Ursa. He knows he's got a lot of spikes coming in. He is almost at that point with the BKB. You also see 7E saving up for the Ag Shard. So again, focusing on a bit more of that right-click timing. He's got the Echo Saber up and running. So there's a lot that he can do with having no charge on the tree grab and just being able to constantly get that damage off. It is going to be big. Like RNG, I don't think we've seen any of them queue up, say, a Halberd so far, so you're not going to have the disarm option yet for the Ursa or the Tiny. And that could be an issue once this Tiny's able to stand in front and get the damage off. You will always have Ward to back you up to stop the Tiny from just focusing people down, but then you use the Roar and Tiny, everyone else is free to do what they want. So you have to be careful with target prioritization here for RNG.
Barely miss out on God King in that mid lane, and now a counter smoke is out. RNG seem to be very well aware of what's happening. We did see Son Goku. Not quite the target they want to start on, but they may have no choice in the matter. SAG going to show themselves in that top tier 1 tower. God King will be there to defend. Nature's Wrath out immediately. And inside jungle now, they found someone in the backline. It's going to be SRF. He gets the Static Storm down with the Yules up, but he is set to die and does go down. XCJ, he'll lose the egg immediately, and now they control up the Timbersaw. However, God King, he was controlled up by IDC. He will die on the Nature's Prophet, but will it matter? Can they get IDC as a trade? Not quite. A 7E now, jumping right back in for an avalanche toss. Does blow up D-Stones, and now Flyby. Also, Dire's Super will try to TP up, but it's a complete team wipe. They clean him up. SAG. I say team wipe, Felix Schaubert. Still alive and just running away, but it's a great team fight out for the Dire, and just it didn't look like a great start, John. They lost both supports, but it seems like the Ursa just bought so much time. And you see it here in this replay. It was just immediately SRF goes down. He got the Yules off, but it didn't really matter. The Ed's gone, but after that, God King just being caught out by the Ursa, trying to TP away, but there was no chance in hell of that happening. And they just couldn't kill IDC.
Yeah, they have an issue right now. They're kind of just dropping to that physical burst damage on hand from SAG. The supports, they didn't care because they dropped their spells. They got Static Storm anyway, they got the egg off. Sure, the egg died, but that gave enough time for the rest of the heroes of SAG to collapse into that same area. And the isolation they had was not ideal. Like, you don't want your NP to just man up and just right-click fight an Ursa. You lose that one. Fury Swipes just drag you down, and you're not that durable in the NP. You need to play with that spacing out. And they couldn't even kill off the Timbersaw in that fight as well. Isolated up top, they were forced to respond to IDC instead. So you're starting to find a grasp here in the game for SAG in the exchanges. These spikes with the Ag Shard on their Tiny and even the Ag Shard here on Son Goku just allows them so much more utility from these two heroes.
These stones, Avalanche Toss is out, and they blow up the Beastmaster again. IDC will not let them forget about it. They look for more now. Son Goku gone to the Tier 2 tower instead. Love the fact that Flamethrower affects buildings now, by the way. Very, very good stuff.
Yeah.
Does give him a bit more push on the Timber.
Yeah, I mean, we love to say Timbersaw doesn't push well beyond just allowing his creeps to hit. Now he can actually push. So that kind of fixes one of the issues of the Timbersaw when it comes down to objectives. He's got a lot more presence, and that Tier 2 going down opens up a lot of possibilities for SAG. They've got a deep set of wards now in the triangle area. They know where RNG is going to want to play and farm up. That allows them to have better access towards the next Roshan as well. And speaking of Rosh, I think they took that last fight around the time Aegis expired. So we're seeing these openings for SAG line up pretty much around Aegis expiring. And they're always disciplined enough to be able to come in, find the kill right as Aegis expires, and it's just such calculated timings here from SAG to maximize their counterplay.
Look at Son Goku. He's even got the Dragon Tail up on, so he's got even more magic damage going onto that tower as they try to move in. Impels out, flyby with the follow-up stun, but the Static Storm dropped immediately. Now, how do you fight back? IDC moving in. The BKB was there in time, but the Roar didn't connect. God King just trying to get himself out of there. IDC, he'll go straight onto Felix Shalba, but he will be fine for now as XCJ does die, but they do eventually get the Snapfire in the end. But in comes the side of RNG, back onto 70, and that'll be your Tiny gone. SAG perhaps getting a little bit too excited. Who take a bad team fight for themselves, and luckily for them, they don't lose too much, but it's not going to feel great losing that mid-Tiny. And in fact, IDC, he's not safe yet. Super is on the chase. He'll be just fine by the Tier 2 tower. Unless Flyby somehow catches him, but he's a bit too far away. But overall, SAG, they lose a little bit, but they are going to be able to back off, and they keep the Ursa alive, which I think is just probably the most important fact.
Yeah, SAG's not going to be too upset about that. They are slightly ahead in farm now. They're getting a bit more on their course overall. You're lagging behind here on RNG with your Centaur, with your Beastmaster sort of just dropping behind. So there's a significant enough, well, not significant, it's like 1k, but there is a gap between these cores that you can play with for SAG. And they just need some of these items to come out. IDC still needs the Ags up into the BKB. He still has not picked up the Shard, but I'm sure that's coming down the line maybe after the Ags comes through. And once you have that Enrage with the Stomp in, you're going to be really hard to control up. Really like that in the last fight as well, where Felix just stood his ground, focused on the egg, and still managed to get out in time. He died in the backline because of the tree toss, but that was just enough to salvage that. Like, taking that egg out allowed him to turn on the Tiny afterwards and just managed to get a little bit more from that exchange for RNG. So they're still finding some openings as well into the team fight of SAG. They have to be cautious. They need to secure this Rosh as SAG's got the better position for that objective right now.
We're going to try. So RNG should know about this, and they do, it seems. The board does start moving its way in. Roshan's currently on fire, which is not going to feel quite nice, but the Mortimer's Kisses are going to fly in. There's going to be even more fire as the Roshan is a bit too low on IDC. He has the Aegis, but now 7E has been caught out of the Tiny, or has he? It's going to be just fine with the egg follow-up. God King now, still just trying to fight, does get some Goku, but needs to run as the Icarus Knife does move in, and the Finspec is there onto God King, and IDC just wants to burst him down. God King eventually going to die to the fire damage as they move in for more. IDC, he does get rolled up. They might be able to turn now and at least get the Aegis off him, and 7E, he has gone way too far into the back lines. He'll die in the Tiny. With that SAG, I think they're done with this team fight. It's not quite as good as you would have hoped. In fact, RNG are going to move in for a little bit more as D-Stones will just not stop throwing axes. Eventually they do back out, and John, as you can see by the recap, it's not great. They even lost the Aegis, so you don't really get any benefit for that Roshan.
You get one big benefit here, Mike. Free Ag Shard for IDC. That was the worst Rosh to give out to the side of SCG. Sure, they drop heroes. Sure, they kind of just burn the Aegis through, but a free Ag Shard upgrade for the year, so that's big. And it's only the second Rosh that gets that. So IDC just gets a free ride into that enrage buff. He doesn't have to expend 1.4k gold. It's still wonky, but you still get something from it from SAG. So I can understand why they kind of threw their bodies in. Maybe a bit too keen on the fight afterwards, but you're starting to build up here on your Ursa. It's becoming the Ursa show, and you just need to build up here.
Done XCJ. Icarus dive is there, but it's, or rather, Yules is there, but it's not going to matter, as he could not get the Icarus dive off in time. You know, John, going back to those Ursa shards, I love that about Ice Frog, right? Like, everyone complained last patch that the status resist thing was just too much, right? The meta of status resist was, yeah, it's a bit too much for these carries, right? But then he just kind of gives, he gives Enrage a 6-second cooldown with Earthshock. It's, you know, he loves his status resist. I don't understand it.
Yep, it's really darn good on Ursa. Now, it's kind of nice, I guess. Like, it feels like Ursa's the only real hero right now who can really get that stacked up on him. Could be a good fight here as well, as they are sort of clumped up. You can see the vision changing. Very close from both sides, but RNG play it safe. They didn't have vision there. They had enough foresight to back off, and they had a Hawk scouting the backside anyway, so they play it safe. They still are lagging behind slightly in that first, less than 1k. We do see some really good build-up here on our MP. You've got the Satanic up for God King, so you can stand there, really man fight against the Ursa if you want to. You still want to have a bit of a gap between yourself and the Ursa, but you've got some option to prolong your presence there as well. And the Actroid's being saved up here as well by Flyby, and you do see the smoke coming through here for RNG.
See what they can do with it. Right into the die triangle is where they want to go, and IDC is on the low ground right now, but they haven't made their way up to the high ground yet, RNG. Not even going to try and go into the triangle. They're just going to hang around this bot side of the Radiant jungle. It's going to be enough, it seems. It's pushing out that bot wave. Now the counter smoke is there. SAG, they want to try and capitalize off this. Son Goku, the only one showing on the map at the moment. Seems though RNG is well aware of what's happening. They also back out in time. Of course, with this Prophet, you will just keep split pushing the map, and there's not really much they can do about it. So SAG probably just going to have to back off.
I don't think they're too upset. Like, they're still keeping up with the farm game despite getting split pushed. The objectives are slowly melting though, so that does force the response out from Son Goku. He is going to be forced to deny the top tier 2. So a little bit more map space opening up here with 2 tier 2s just falling. RNG do open up the map a lot more to start really split pushing and applying pressure with the NP. But SAG are still hitting some item beats here. Ahead now on the Ursa by about 1,000 gold. Not massive, but it's notable now for the Ursa to be that step up. And again, with the Battle Fury, this kind of AFK farming game does work out a lot better for IDC. You're also saving up here for the Tiny to go into that build-up for the AC. Last I checked, 7 just again going for physical build-up. Once you have the AC, your right-click damage is a lot faster with the attack speed you get, and which really helps you maximize the shard build-up on the physical build. And maybe even after that, we see something like the Daedalus come in, or even, say, the Ags would be nice as well for the Tree Volley. So there's a lot of options to keep scaling here for SAG, whereas for RNG, I mean, maybe you could flip
Flyby goes straight into XCJ. They do get the Static Storm down, but it's not going to matter. They'll lose the Phoenix. Onto SRF they go. Flyby, he'll pop the Stampede. There'll be a buyback from XCJ. They do need the egg, but the side of RNG are already backing out. Flyby will just TP away. 7E, he does at least get the Avalanche cancellation, but now the Spider Legs. Flyby is going to try and run. XCJ will follow up with the Sunray, and the Chakram does land. They do get something with the buyback from the Phoenix, but overall, I guess it's not really too great for either side. I think RNG will probably be maybe a little bit more satisfied with that team fight.
Yeah, you force out a buyback, you're pretty happy enough on RNG's end. SAG, they do still at least hold on to the egg, and they're able to apply some pressure on the bot tier 2 themselves. They can try to get some more control on the bot jungle here, maintain pressure on the map, counteract the pressure that the NP is trying to get out here, and still kind of work yourself with a pretty good game. It's really even now, 20-20, 1k lead for RNG. Neither side really getting a massive lead in this game at all. You can see it bouncing around there on the charts. So we're seeing much more of a fight from SAG. And again, as this game goes on, it does feel like their scaling is nice. There's a lot of utility on RNG's end. We've seen some great fights coming out with really good positioning from Felix Schauba to stand back, get the kisses off, get a good war target off. But when it comes to pure right click damage from all these cores, you do scale a lot better with the Ursa.
Oh, top lane, super. The Impale on the 4-star will stick around for the mana drain, but the Yules is out from SRF, and Super now may have gone a bit too far. He's going to try and TP, but the glimpse is there. Super, he'll turn back around onto SRF, but... Well, there you go. He just laughs about it. Obviously, a very optimistic kind of play there from Super. Does not pan out for him.
Yeah, it's Keen. I mean, after he got his combination off, couldn't find kill, couldn't quite get out in time. And it's just a little bit more for SAG to play with. You could argue that space, it's not really much on the map for RNG to maximize that space with. So you're happy about the freebie on SAG. You've stalled out enough that there's a heart here on the Timbersaw. And the control factor on the Tim, the burst damage for the Tim, it just starts to feel like it's not enough. You're going to have issues focusing down these cores. Heart up, AC potentially coming out for a 7E. There's so much tanking, so much armor to have to eat through. And your NP, it doesn't feel like it hits hard. At least compared to an Ursa, compared to a Tiny with a Shard. It just doesn't feel like you're getting the same impact here from God King. Now, he does have his AC up on his own, so it will counteract the incoming AC in terms of aura armor reduction, but beyond that, like, you need a lot more on the NP here to really feel comfy in a man fight against these bigger cores.
It's going to be a kind of medium Roshan timers. Both teams do try and check out the Roshan pip, but it is about 2 minutes away. AG, very careful here. RNG are starting to move in, and they got the Impale off, but IDC, he has the Aghanim Scepter now. Problem is, the Roar is there, but IDC, with that status resist, is going to be able to back off and maybe reinitiate with his team. He does go into Flyby. Some Goku dropping low, but there's your Static Storm now out, right at the God King. He'll pop the Satanic and try to survive, but they've caught out the Ursa now. In the backlines, IDC is trying to survive with that enrage, but can he survive the damage? He cannot. Keystones does get the kill, and now they move on for more. They move on for the rest. As SAG, they are just dropping like flies. They'll lose another. RNG finding free for their trouble. The very unfortunate scenario for SAG is, and I felt like you couldn't have asked for a better usage of the Aghanim Scepter and Rage on IDC, but it just didn't prove to be enough. There's just too much disable on RNG's end.
The big issue there for SAG was the fact that, yeah, he got out with the Ag Scepter and Rage. He didn't fight with it. He was retreating for the most part. SAG comes in the latter half of the fight. It's too late to maximize your Ursa's tankiness in front, so the damage output wasn't great, and now their high ground's being sieged.
That it is. God King is hitting very, very fast, as most Nature's Prophets do, and they do roar up. The Timbersaw now, Son Goku, going to be okay, but an Impel is there from Super. They'll get the tier 3, they'll force the buyback out from 7E, and God King, I'm not sure about sticking around. He's just man-fighting against 3 of them. He does not care. He's not moving, and Flyby is right back in. They'll get SRF and force even more buybacks out, as Flyby now will pop the Stampede. They can't cancel the TP out, or maybe they can. God King, he does get cancelled. He is stuck around a little bit too long, and is eventually going to die. So while it was a lot of buybacks being committed, they do get the carry profit.
Yeah, and that lines up really well, because the Roshan is just up, so SAG can just go into it without worrying about the NP. Now there's still an opportunity for RNG to fight here, though.
I mean, the Roshan is happening. I was just watching the Nyx Assassin for a second. In fact, we'll talk about it later, because this Roshan fight should be starting any minute now, even without God King, as IDC, that is so much damage being dealt out onto the Ursa.
God, this is...
Go back in for that Roshan pit now, John.
be a bit risky. Good Ags timing here from our Centaur, but you do have the egg back up from SAG. No Static Storm yet. You really want both Spalts up to really take control of that pit. They only put Sun Goku in the front, and they do smoke around. They want to find a pick off first before cleaning up the Roche.
I mean, they need this Roshan to go down before God King's back, but the problem is he has buyback gold now, so he can actually rejoin the team fight. These stones immediately jumped on, but he gets the BKB and the roar off onto 7E, and now Flyby is there with the follow-up. It's a really nice egg, but is it going to matter? Not quite. They burst it down immediately. Now God King trying to man-fight the Ursa. It's not the greatest of ideas. They're just focusing down the MP. Can he survive God King? He will.
Oh.
He will survive a little bit longer as he'll turn right back around on some Goku. He finds another kill, and the GG score.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
I mean,
Well,
they
just
had no buybacks.
left.
It's just too much,
What an ending.
and RNG. I mean, they took a chance there, SAG. They were trying to smoke around, get the pick off, but once the BKBs came up, there's just nothing they had on control to stop the Beastmaster from getting the damage off.
Definitely a crazy series here between RNG and SAG, and of course with that, John, we are going to head right back to the panel to see what they thought of this game number 2.
It was touch and go there for a moment, but RNG ended up being the superior team. And game 1 we were kind of chalking up to drafts, but after a full series, I think RNG were just the better team. I think gameplay heroes everything.
100%. You don't really win 20-2 if you're not a little bit better as well, no matter how stronger your draft is. And in the second game, you could really see that they're the ones taking control of every single team fight. They're the ones that are controlling the pace of the game and the way that the game is played, even though the draft isn't that great for them. This Timber should have the freest time of his life. It looks like a really solid Ursa game too, but when it comes to team fighting, they just aren't on the same level.
Yeah. Like, definitely being able to play with the worst draft and still outplaying the enemy is the mark of a good team, or even just a better team in general. And yeah, RNG definitely showing that here. Looking pretty solid.
It's comfort. You were calling it. God King Nature's Prophet is a classic. They had no issue whatsoever picking it. He had some questionable moments. Here, we were kind of blaming the Beastmaster. I think he took a little bit too long to help him out, but definitely intimidated quite a bit by God King's Prophet for sure.
Yeah, this was one good team fight for SAG, but overall every other one was not going in their favor. Phoenix Eggs were really not that great.
Questionable.
Questionable. You're playing versus Snapfire and versus Nature's Prophet. Your eggs need to be a bit better. This is one exception to prove the rule in which the egg was good, but besides this one, he had some misfortunate
I think these Phoenixes have gotten cocky, you know. Snapfire hasn't been meta for a while as a counter pick, and they're like, as long as I get the fire spirits off, I'm going to be fine. But this Prophet also built like insane amounts of attack speed. Mjolnir, Satanic, the AC, like this Prophet is really hard to kill.
The Beastmaster as well.
Beastmaster aura, yeah. I mean, yeah, but he just like Phoenix X right in front of the Snapfire like 3 or 4 times in this game.
Yeah.
Usually they say you make a mistake once and you learn from it. Not this game.
Yeah, you fool me 3-4 times, but not 5th time. 5th time I learned.
Maybe the 5th time is still okay. The 6th time I got.
In the next game.
The next game, oh yeah, of course, the game 3.
Next game you can't fool me.
If you start the game in one way, you need to finish it on the same.
True. Just for consistency.
For consistency, exactly. And the next game you'll adapt and you'll play differently.
At least it wasn't 22-2. It was not quite as one-sided. It was a little bit more of a fight put up by SAG.
Yeah, but this Beastmaster damage is ridiculous. And of course, Prophet, he stands in 5 with Satanic when Mjolnir dealing a lot of damage, but this Beastmaster with this Axe build is really legit.
He dealt more damage than the Prophet.
Every single game I'm playing, every single ranked pub that I have, Beastmaster is picked. Every single one. And it's always the same build. It's just Aghanims. Buy Aghanims and spam it at you. Some of them are a little bit more adventurous. They go for Helm of Dominator and Aghanims, but you just rush the item.
Are you seeing it mid lane though?
I'm seeing it mid lane.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw it mid lane and off lane.
I mean, it lanes very well simply because the Axis, it's pretty much a free range group every time. And then you get the bottle refill like 2 or 3 times, and then you can just go jungle, farm stacks pretty easily. The roar leads to pretty easy rotations.
And
it's a very good hero.
That roar with the movement speed buff up is pretty solid. Like you roar someone and you're just out of there. You can't be killed.
Yeah, initially my concern was maybe the Necrobook nerf would be like, what's the point of the move speed buff? But yeah, just for the hero itself, it's nice. So give me the MVP for D-Stones then. That's what I want to say. Played the hero to perfection. Definitely showing it off early in this league, probably because it's going to get nerfed. So might as well get your wins now.
Yeah, two games, 2 Beastmasters. I mean, even in the first game, he also played pretty well on the hero. After a rough laning phase, but yeah.
I guess some heroes are just bound to always be in meta. It doesn't matter. Beastmaster always is a hero that's picked.
Io's always meta.
Exactly.
Okay, now Beastmaster's back, but how do you get Lycan back? Like, I've seen a lot of Lycans. He's just absolute... I'm sure they try to right-click, but it just...
it just doesn't work.
It doesn't
work. Not strong enough.
It was the... I don't know, go for the off lane. Go for the wolf bite. I mean, just first item.
There's no compensation. You know, Beastmaster as compensation for Necro got his new axe upgrade. What did Lycan get?
What's the compensation for Enigma?
I mean, I'm screwed it here.
That's my greatest question.
I hate getting black hole. Like, every time you're the most farmed core...
Man.
And what do you do? Let your ally by Wind
What you do is just play it better. Don't get black hole.
Just get good.
It's not that hard.
Play it better. He's just waiting for you the entire time.
Play as a team. It's like black hole and Enigma. It's one of the...
probably most iconic
heroes of this
for
game. Sure. And destroying Enigma and not having it at all in the game is a great loss for the whole community.
Yeah, especially on lands. Like, how do you have hype Enigma black holes and no one's going to pick it?
Exactly.
Oh, the black hole! No.
You need those teamfight ults.
Literally one hero brings so much hype. You get hyped about a good Phoenix SAG, about a decent Ravage.
Sure.
Sure, Echo Slam is super hype even though we don't have Echo Slams anymore. But Black Hole is like the spell.
It's just the sound and everything, right?
Oh, I know. And the Immortal, that Chaos whatever Immortal. Oh my God.
And the new shot just drags everything in. Yes, it just looks so epic. Yeah.
We need it. We need it in this game.
Yeah. They will change it again soon. They will buff it in another way.
The Eidolons are the thing that allows you to be a hero in this game as an Enigma, right? Like, and without those Eidolons, or with them but on such a long cooldown, you can't lane. If you can't lane, you can't be position 5, you can't be off lane. What are you?
Don't worry, we're going to get a Black Hole talent plus 2 seconds or something.
Yeah. Save it for the B patch or maybe another Phantom patch, who knows. But we don't have too much to show you, but we do have some standings as Lower Division has also been played out, so we can take a look at what's going on so far. Oh, actually, Lower Division has quite a bit happening. Okay, so as we see here, Upper Division only have this one BO3, but Lower Division, CDC, LBZS. Your boys from the Upper Division, they're doing good work. LBZS and Magma managing to take their experience to their first victory. CDEC getting a victory in Phoenix Gaming as well, beating out Aster Ares, Demon Slayer, Dragon, and Extreme Gaming.
And as you can see, always have high hopes, big dreams. RNG that were in Division 2 are right now top of Division 1.
Wow.
The champions.
The champions.
Right from the get-go. Insane performance. Who'd have thought?
I mean, you said it. You said these beginning matches can count quite a bit. LGD may have been dropping the ball early on, and that's why they had to fight through wildcards. So you scoop up a few wins while Beastmaster's still broken. Life's good.
Yep. It happened actually in the first season as well, with Puck with OD being broken and a couple of teams picked that up super fast, picked those heroes and got some easy wins.
Yeah. Even though the series was pretty one-sided, I do think this SAG team, if you're not careful, they can take a game, maybe even a series off you. So even though they're probably considered a dark horse, you still got to be careful when you play against them.
That's all we have for China for today, but you can take a look. We'll be back on Friday with eHome versus RNG. And eHome, they're mainstays in Upper Division. Didn't get to show up at the Major, but they've been spending a lot of time playing all the major teams and Elephant and whatnot. And so this will be hopefully a more concrete test for how good RNG really is.
Yeah, eHome as well, we want to see how much better they are with the new carry and with some time that was given to them, because in the first season, they definitely underperformed. Not everyone can go to the Major, obviously, but we expected a bit more from eHome.
Yeah, do you have a favorite after seeing RNG? Are you convinced, or was Sparking Arrow Gaming not enough of a benchmark block?
It's very tough to say, because they do still have one of the best coaches, QQQ, in eHome, and now they have Syla as well, which was what they were lacking before, like a really good, stable carry. So I do think eHome is like ever so slightly favored for me.
Yeah, and as we move forward in the Upper Division, maybe we'll see major teams finally make an appearance. It's IG, the major champions, LGD, Aster. What's up with what was the deal with Aster? Aster underperformed at the major.
Yeah, I mean they did have a stand-in. Like Boboka is pretty important.
Yep.
You know, we had a little incident, of course.
True.
But yeah, I do think he's one of the most important assets for the team. Like he just makes the team really unpredictable. You suddenly don't have that. Things are rough.
Fair enough. But that's just the very beginning of a long adventure. This is just the opening day of Season 2 Upper Division in China. We'll be back on Friday with eHome versus RNG, but thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you then.
And get lost in all I see. All that neon goes on till dawn, leading to an empty Try to work this out before, but now I'm stronger. Ignite the fire once more, but I don't want you. Tracing city lights, make it right. I don't wanna press play. Ooh, days washing away. Facing nights in the morning, white lies are fading in. Waiting for a sign that takes me back to the beginning. No time for guilt or pleasure. You know I can't do that. I wish that I knew better, 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 better. Facing nights in the morning, white lies are fading in. Waiting for a sign that takes me back to the beginning. No time for guilt or pleasure. You know I can't do that. I wish that I knew better, 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 better.